and welcome in for a 2-hour-plus ride on the Glenn Clark Radio Show. This is Stan the Fan sitting in for Glenn Clark, who is away on, should we say, Stevenson business?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, that's what he wants to call it, but yeah.
Stevenson business.
Stevenson business.
He may be taking over as Dean.
Dean, wow.
Stevenson.
That is a... He may never come back.
That's a very good chance of that.
Me and you moving forward, Stan.
Hey, speaking of moving forward, the Toyota Tacoma moves you forward. It comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on a new Tacoma from your local Toyota dealer today. And they always bring you the Glenn Clark Radio Show. Here's what we've got for you on the show. Gary Stein will join us at 10:20, and we'll look at both the Baltimore Ravens and what he sees out of the Terrapins football team down there at College Park. Ravens 1-0 after game one, and the Terrapins are 2-0 after victories over Towson University, which was expected, and I would say a harder than expected but hard-earned victory over Biff Poggi's Charlotte. What is their name? The Miners?
The
49ers?
The 49ers. Yeah, not to be confused with the UTEP Miners, which I've done in the past too. I'm not sure why. But
why are they the 49ers in Charlotte?
I feel like we looked this up and I already forget.
Okay.
I'll look it up.
They probably became a city in 1949.
This is Lucas, by the way, everyone. This is my brother. Yeah. My brother Lucas. He's in town for the weekend.
And we thank him for his service.
Yes, he's gonna. I guess he'll be fact checking us.
All right, Lucas, where are you stationed now? Because it's an interesting topic.
I'm stationed in North Carolina, Fort Bragg, or Fort Liberty now.
It's Fort Liberty.
Yeah, Fort Liberty.
And Fort Bragg, seriously, I don't know the history. Was there a Civil War connection with Colonel Bragg or something?
Yeah, he was a general. He was one of North Carolina doesn't produce a lot of generals, and I think they like to name the bases after famous people from that area.
Right.
So Fort Bragg, I think General Bragg was. I did a little bit of research on him because I was wondering why they changed the name, because I honestly like the name Bragg. Was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool name.
And
bad guy apparently.
Yeah, and he had some connections with the Confederacy, and of course, which they're changing all these names.
All right. Well, Lucas Bass is here today.
Yes, he's in the Army, by the way. That is
in the Army.
Yes,
that is serving at Fort Liberty currently. You're just doing your, what's it called when you're basic now? Are you in basic?
No, so I graduated a couple months ago, and I went to airborne school at Fort Moore in Georgia.
Airborne school?
Yeah.
So you fly big birds?
I jump out of them, actually, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
is it true that Griffin, and seriously, we're off on a tangent here, did he fail out miserably from the military? He tried to get in, and he just couldn't do.
Do you want me to
Stan, what?
Come clean about it?
I was kidding.
Yeah, we'll mention it later.
All right.
For another day.
Welcome
in
for the show. We welcome you,
it.
and we do thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Gary Stein in at 10:20. At 11 o'clock, an old buddy of mine, I've interviewed him 2 or 3 times, Ryan Spilborghs, who's on Sirius XM, the Major League Baseball channel, and tonight he'll be doing the color on the Apple TV broadcast. Right? It is.
Yes,
the Apple
correct.
broadcast.
It is Apple TV Plus, I guess.
I'm so confused. Like, when did we know that Thursday was going to be a Fox game? Was that known,
I think
all season long?
No, they announced it. I want to say on Monday or Sunday night.
So they have the right to kind of come in and screw with everybody, you know.
Oh, because it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a 6:30 start.
all the Madison people, and people didn't know. And then what was particularly confusing about that is I just got used to the fact that they were starting Monday through Thursday games at 6:40 again, like they did back in April and May. And I rushed to get to the ballpark so I could eat and be ready at 6:40. And I realized the game's starting at 7:15. So, I mean, that threw me off as well. But Ryan Spilborghs joins us tonight. We'll talk to him about what he sees in this suddenly very tense race between the Tampa Bay Rays and the first place Baltimore Orioles. By the way, to those of you who are gloom and doom about the Orioles' chances right now, the sky is falling. They've lost 3 in a row. They're 1-3 in their last 4 games. the last 30 games, the Orioles are 20-10, and I count the Tampa Bay Rays as 21-9. So in that time period, they've only picked up one game on us. But it just feels like they're creeping closer and closer and closer because they won all 3 of these games while the Orioles went into this mini tailspin that we have to make sure doesn't turn into a full-blown tailspin, and we'll talk about that as well with Todd Karpovich at 11.
Yes,
11:20.
11:25.
Press box beat writer for the Baltimore Orioles. And then Griffin will have a fight segment.
Yes,
where
fighting
he
words.
Breaks down.
Yes.
He and his brother are going to fight.
That would be good. Maybe we should do that.
Settle a long-time feud.
Is it a long-time feud?
Yeah.
Who would win a fight between the two of you?
Well, I would.
I feel like every other year probably rotates, but with my intense military jiu-jitsu
I know that's true. I haven't since.
Right.
Yeah, now that he's been training jiu-jitsu.
Jumps out of planes.
Yeah, but
Were you afraid the first time you jumped out of a plane?
I was afraid every time I jumped out of a plane.
Are you still?
I mean, you get more confident walking into the plane, and
Right.
you're like, I can do this. And then you get up there, and you're flying, and they're like, all right, get ready. And then you're like, oh, I got to jump out of a plane again. And then you never get used to that.
And how long do you wait to pull the – I would probably pull the ripcord while I was in the plane.
Right. So we're fortunate enough it's a static line. So you're hooked up – your chute is hooked up to the plane. So you jump. And you're probably free-falling for 4 to 5 seconds maybe. And then the static line, which is probably like 15 feet long, pulls the chute out of your bag.
Okay, so it's
it
automatically
deploys.
done.
Should be automatically
Is that
deployed.
fail-proof? It is
as
until
long
we
as-
hear
yeah.
about a story where it isn't.
As long as you have a reserve for a reason.
Yeah.
So obviously it's pretty intrinsically safe. Like the riggers do it because it's not machine packed, which is good. Because you want people there paying attention to what they're doing and how it's being made. But that being said, it's human error happens all the time. So, but you have your reserve, and as long as you're jumping out far enough, your chute will deploy, no problem.
So let me just repeat the question though. If you were in a war scene and you were parachuting down, you wouldn't have that cord.
No, I would, because they want you, because you're flying so low to the ground, so you wouldn't have time, because they want you to get on the ground as quick as possible, so you only jump for about 1,300 feet.
Okay.
So you're already flying low to the ground, so your chute's going to deploy
quickly.
pretty immediately, and you're falling at about 14.5 to 18 feet per second. So you're falling pretty quickly to the ground.
Now, does that translate to miles per hour? Like, are you going like...
We did the math one time to try to, because, 18 feet per second sounds pretty fast, so we were trying to math it out one time. I think we did it was I don't know. Big G's.
30
good with the
miles an
numbers.
hour, 20 miles, 18
about 10 miles per hour. It's
10
14,
miles per hour.
so at 18.
Yeah.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, and especially if you're on the bigger side. Like I'm lucky, I was only about 160
10 to 12.
pounds. Not before I had all my gear on.
Yeah, I would definitely win in a fight.
That used to be when I was in my 20s. That was on my bucket list was to do the parachute.
Yeah.
Go parachuting.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to somebody that was really into it and knew all the ins and outs. He said, and at the time I was a bartender.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And this is back in my 20s. And he said, if you parachute enough times, you will break a leg.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There,
so I said, you know what? I really can't afford to take off of work with a broken leg because I was parachuting.
Right.
And then the older I got, it receded from my, idea of something that I wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Started thinking with your head.
All right. Anyway, getting back to parachuting. The Orioles are parachuting over these last 4 games. Are we? And I welcome your comments. How can people reach us, Griffin?
What on Glenn Clark Radio?
Yeah,
At Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Certainly the best way to come at us. Tell us tell us why this guy is falling or isn't falling, and we'll agree or disagree.
That's a good metaphor for today's show. Is the sky falling or is it not falling? I would say what makes it look worse than it is a couple things. Number one, in the last 12, 14 games, we've lost Felix Bautista, and now probably, and this coming from me, who I didn't think when he went out with vertigo and went to the minors, I didn't know that we'd see Ryan Mountcastle back in an Oriole uniform. I was that sort of set that he was done, that mentally he had checked out. He proved to be an awful lot stronger than I thought. He came back with a vengeance and has really played at a high level, getting on base, driving the ball. Still a little too much swing and miss for me, but doing
his
a
OPS,
great job.
yeah, like his own base and OPS, he's seeing the ball so much better. Clearly, he's doing a lot better job of working counts. He had, Glenn and I talked about this yesterday. He'd anchored that second spot of the lineup for the past month or so.
Yeah.
So
Well,
he is going to be
Gunnar
missed.
Henderson have anchored that second
Yeah.
spot. Yeah. So anyway, they're both lost right now. Felix Bautista is, despite what the team is doing with smoke and mirrors.
You don't buy into.
I'm not buying that we're going to see Felix Bautista in a major league game this year.
Probably
my
next
fingers
year.
are crossed. Maybe if it's such a small tear that they are being careful this year and think that maybe they can, through rest and a couple PRP injections, maybe they don't need to do the surgery. That's a possibility.
It seems inevitable, I think.
It generally does, but there are a few people, and everybody points to Erwin Santana as somebody that avoided it, but he also avoided being a very good pitcher at the same time. That was sort of where his career, I want to say, cascaded downward, but he was never the solid innings eater he was for the Angels when he went to Kansas City or Minnesota. So our fingers are crossed that the Orioles can get through this. And I think they've got while not a guy that you'd go, yeah, that's the guy, he can clearly take care of Felix's business. I think they've got in Hall, Jorge Lopez, Shintaro, Fujinami, and Ynier Cano.
Danny Coulombe
and Coulombe, but I think they've got enough ammunition in that bullpen that won't be the out-and-out reason the Orioles don't reach the World Series or win a World Series,
Yeah, and maybe part of that question is, were they capable of reaching the World Series even before the Felix Bautista injury?
I think as the season went on,
it did seem.
It seemed almost not inevitable, but it seemed like this was a team of destiny.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
It doesn't. The last 4 days, it doesn't seem like they're a team of destiny.
No.
But I remember, because I'm old enough, to be your grandfather's friend. I'm old enough to remember what Earl Weaver used to say around this time, and it was every single year, because the Orioles were always in it when Earl was managing the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles were always in a pennant race. He used to say, and he never used the words buckle up, but he used to say, this is going to be like a roller coaster ride.
Because every loss.
It's going to be peaks and valleys. There are going to be times where you think you've got it won. There's times you think you're out of it. Like, suppose the Orioles lose 3 out of 4 to Tampa. We're going to say, well, there goes the chance to win the division, but you don't know what's going to happen in the remaining 14 or 15 games. Incidentally, the Orioles, after this series against Tampa, we've got 3 more against the Rays here. We go to Houston for 3, which is not going to be a walk in the park.
It is not.
But
it
is a series that demands that the Orioles play at a higher level, and maybe that will be the series that snaps them back into reality if, in fact, they do lose this series to Tampa. But we've got 3 games in Houston. We then go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Cleveland, and then the Orioles come home for 2 versus the Washington Nationals, the pesky Washington Nationals. They really are. They're a pesky team. They surprised me how much better they are than I thought they'd be. Mm-hmm. And then we finish with 4 against the Boston Red Sox, who just fired their director of baseball ops, Chaim Bloom. Mm-hmm. That job's available now, Griffin.
Yes.
Or Zach already put in.
Zach, he's got a good baseball mind.
He does have a good baseball mind. Now, Tampa, who do they have? I'd say that they have a much easier schedule than the Orioles.
Definitely coming out of this series, for sure.
They finish here in Baltimore with these 3 more games. They're 1-0 in the series. They then go home for 3 against the Angels,
who are
and
dreadful.
They're walking wounded, the Angels. Hopefully Mickey Moniak will be back playing because it's killed my – I had one night 10 days ago. I digress. You'll pardon me for digressing. But I had Griffin Canning
Good name.
was supposed to start for the Angels. This was Thursday a week ago. Rengifo was in the lineup. Mickey Moniak was in the lineup. Canning was scratched to give him an extra day's rest. He came back the next night, did not pitch that well with the extra rest. But Luis Rengifo, first inning, he's on the on-deck circle. We've all heard horror stories about how a player gets a foul ball off his leg, off his head. He strained a bicep muscle
while swinging
in the on-deck circle. Started out immediately,
the team is cursed.
out until September 15th. 2 days later, out for the season. And then that same game, Mickey Moniak was scratched due to back tightness. Hasn't played since.
Do they have anyone left?
Well, I had Mitch Garver until last night. How bad is his injury? Can you
Garver?
give me the news? He hurt his foot last night.
Let's
removed
see.
from the game against the Twins.
Let's see. Left foot.
Toronto.
No, the X-ray said no fracture.
Okay.
Fouled a ball off his foot.
Right?
Yeah, day to day. Just day to day.
That means he'll miss at least 10 days. Okay.
You're still battling.
And I got Jose Siri. I got Siri.
He was hurt as well. Yeah.
And Tom Murphy.
And
Tom Murphy.
Is he hurt too?
For the season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Stan. I was eliminated in the semifinals of my fantasy playoffs. I was going against Trey Turner the other week.
Yeah.
When he decided to hit, I believe I had a stat on Tidbit. He had 11 home runs in 13 games for the.
And you had him.
I was going against him.
You were going to get him.
No, I was going against him. So the play in my matchup, I was going against Trey Turner.
Didn't hear that. Okay.
So it was did not end well for me, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear that.
After being in first place all year.
Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Anyway,
I appreciate it.
Orioles and the Rays go at it tonight. And that game time, by the way, tonight will be at, I want to be clear, because it's an Apple game.
7:07 is what I saw.
It says in the Tampa Bay notes it's 7:05, and it's going to be Zach Eflin, who's having a really terrific season for the Tampa Bay Rays, 14-8. A lot of people scratched their head when they gave him $27 million for 3 years. Looks like a great signing. In the meantime, we've got Jack Flaherty, who for the season is 8-8, 4.98. This is a game that looks on the surface. Again, if you want to bet on sports, I urge you to go to Superbook Sports and sign up with the promo code StanCharles23, and you're entitled to the first bet bonus of $250 back on your first, up to $250 back on your first bet. Win or lose, use that promo code StanCharles23. Okay, tonight looks like
I heard that one gives you better luck too.
Tonight looks like a lock for the Tampa Bay Rays. A lot of times in baseball, and I can't cite you a
reverse locky
analytic, but the reverse lock tonight would say to bet the Orioles, because Jack Flaherty has been, aside from that first start in Toronto, he has been less and less impressive. Your thoughts, Griffin?
No, yeah, I'm definitely with you, Flaherty. Stan and I were having fun with the idea of trying to do what the Phillies did with Trey Turner, at the beginning of August, where they gave him a standing ovation after he had struggled for so long during the summer. It doesn't seem like we really got much traction with that. Maybe it would work, especially in a packed in a sellout tonight.
Starting pitcher a standing ovation. When did they do?
I guess as he takes the mound, I guess. Because everyone will be in their seats. For the Adam Jones stuff, and that's another. That's another reason this feels a little reverse locky. The Rays have the better pitcher on the mound.
Mojo out there tonight.
Certainly.
Is there any chance Adam could fill in for Aaron Hicks?
Aaron Hicks did not look good last night defensively. That was
very slow take on that ball, and I can't quite figure out why. Because he got an excellent arm, and I don't know why he would have sort of assumed that the runner was going to stop at third. It was an aggressive third base coach, go, and he just double clutched, and that was all the difference in the world on that play. Anyway, tonight, 7:05, Zach Eflin versus Jack Flaherty. Tomorrow, Saturday's game, also on 7:05. Tonight will not be on Masson, so you got to watch it on Apple TV. And tomorrow night, 7:05, not quite a reverse lock situation, but the Tampa Bay Rays' best starting pitcher still left. Tyler Glass now 9-5 with 3.15, goes against Grayson Rodriguez, 5-4, 4.88 ERA. And then on Sunday afternoon at 1:35, Zach Littell, 3-6 with a 4.25 ERA, goes against Dean Kramer, and Dean Kramer will start that game with a 12-5 record and a 4.25 earned run average. So that's a brief look at the rest of this series. Are we already ready for Gary Stein?
Oh, yeah, Gary is always ready.
Right. Joining us now is a longtime friend of plus 30 years now, I believe. It's Gary Stein. Gary Stein joins us from Studio 83 Video Production House. Gary, how are you?
Good. Happy New Year, Stanley, to you and your family.
Lashana Tova. It's not a happy. It's not a happy New Year for Chaim Bloom, is it?
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
On the night before Rosh Hashanah.
That's terrible. Me? It would be like firing somebody before Christmas, right? Wouldn't it be?
Exactly. It's exactly what it is.
Are we going to investigate the Boston Red Sox for anti-Semitism?
I think we have no choice at this point.
Well,
you just don't do that.
What's more interesting about the Boston Red Sox, who have really they've really gone down the chimney quite a bit over the last 6 or 7 years. Since Theo Epstein left in 2011 to take the job with the Cubs, they have had 3 general managers. They've had Ben Cherington, who's now the general manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He lasted about 1,363 days. They then hired Dave Dombrowski, who lasted 1,425 days, and now Chaim Bloom is out after 1,417 games. My opinion, I think that this is where Theo Epstein gets back into baseball, running a team.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think they're going to have to come up with an incredible package that might include both John Henry and what's his name, the guy from TV that used to produce the Roseanne show. I forget his name. They might have to.
Yeah.
They might have to pony up like 1.5% or 2% each of their ownership stake to get the guy that really should be running the Boston Red Sox.
The only thing that Theo Epstein can do at this point to burnish his legacy even more is to bring the Red Sox back again.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. He rose them from the dead the first time. He did the same thing with the Cubs, and now he's got to go back to Boston and do it again.
Yep. Well, that's what I think's going to happen. If the Red Sox have any sense, seriously, they let him get away because of some tricky relationships in there. It involved Larry Lucchino, who they used to be the best of friends. Lucchino was a Theo Epstein mentor, but the two had a falling out, and John Henry elected to stand behind Larry Lucchino, who then about 5 years later he let go of. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But Gar, turning our attention to why we had you on, and I've got a multiple reason for your appearance this morning. I want to talk, before we talk about the Ravens, I want to talk about what you're seeing down at College Park with Mike Loxley and the Terrapins. Are you impressed so far with what they've done in victories over Towson University and a pesky Charlotte University?
I think it's a good question because they are 2-0, but if you really wanted to, you could pick apart both games. The Towson game, 35-6 or whatever that score was, 38-6. That's expected. They did what they should do against Towson. I don't think anything was spectacular, but again, it was Towson, with no disrespect to Pete Shinnick. Okay, we'll take the win. Against Charlotte, I think there are good things and some not so good things that came out of that win. first of all, sloppy play in the beginning. They fell back early, 14-0 before you even knew it.
Yep.
But then they got their composure, and they started to do the things that they were supposed to do. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball very well, especially late. They never wavered from their game plan, I believe. And so you take heart from that. Should it have been as close as that for as long as that? Probably not. I know, though, that at the same time, Biff Poggi came in there, and he probably had that team ready to play like you would not believe it.
Yeah, that was going to be like their Super Bowl, wasn't it?
Exactly. Chip on the shoulder, coming back to Baltimore area.
Yep.
Defying all the odds and the experts. Even though you say I can't do it, I can. We can. St. Francis. All that stuff. So I think that that's a good thing that came out of that for Maryland, is keeping their composure. They're going to handle Virginia tonight. Virginia's going nowhere. And then the season really starts. So back to your original question, am I happy or have I seen the things I wanted to see? I really think it's 50-50 at this point.
Yeah.
But I do think that just handling their business and playing with composure is a big thing for Maryland, and I think that they lived up to that.
Yeah, I think they were faced with a situation in that Charlotte game, which I think is a real positive, that they were down. They were down on their luck. They had self-inflicted a couple big wounds.
Yeah.
But they did, I think, coming out of that game, they've got to feel pretty good about the fact, hey, we hung it together and we did what we had to do. We did what we had to do and took care of business.
I think one of the biggest things, Stan, is like last year they relied on Tunga Vailoa's arm. Well, that's not true, actually. Hemby had a big year. Yeah. But when push came to shove, it was going to be Tunga Vailoa that was either going to win or lose the game. I think this year there's a lot more help, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think the front seven actually is pretty good. So I think, that there are more ways for this team to win, and I don't think they're going to need Tunga Vailoa to pass for 4,000 yards in order to get 8 or 9 wins this year.
Okay. The second-string quarterback, Billy, what's his last name, Gary?
Billy Edwards.
Billy Edwards. There was a scene late in the game over on the sideline where Edwards was talking to Talia, and it looked like he was, even though he's not the big shot there on campus, it looked like there was a mentoring moment that Billy Edwards was trying to impress upon Talia. Did you by any chance see that?
Yeah, I saw it. I mean, I don't know what the conversation was, but that's an interesting thing though about Billy Edwards.
Yeah.
And remember last year when Tunga Vailoa got hurt, Billy Edwards came in. Not that he's a great quarterback, and I don't know that he's ever going to be a great quarterback, but he is a pretty good leader, and he's got a lot of grit.
Yep.
And so I think that one of the things about him is he's not afraid to approach, a coach or a player and say what he needs to say what he wants to say. And so I wasn't surprised. Again, I don't know what the conversation was, but I wasn't surprised to see Billy Edwards take sort of that leadership mantle.
Yeah, and it looked like he was directly in charge of that conversation, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
I don't know what he was talking to him about. Could have been about what they're going to do after the game, what restaurant they're going to go to. But it looked like he was directing comments to Talia that were somewhat important. It just looked that way to me.
I totally agree.
One other question. Coach Biff Poggi, did he dress like that when he coached St. Francis?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. That was really that was quite striking to see a guy like, 70 years old. The guy is, I'm told that he is a billionaire, okay? Both self-made and family money on his wife's side. And I think a terrific football coach. And I think he's going to do a good job there. But his choice of dress, the shorts,
I think it's
cuts,
how he gets his players to, rally behind him.
Really?
He would wear for the St. Francis, he would wear a bright yellow
cutoff. If I can dress
cutoff.
like this, you can go out there and give me 110%. Yeah. All right.
Hey, I mean, I think it's something that the players love, to be honest with you, because he's an iconoclast. He's counter against the grain.
Yeah.
No one else does that,
Nope.
and no one else recruits the way he does. No, quite literally, Stan and Griffin. No one else has done it the way that Vic Poggi has done it.
Yeah,
period.
you're right. He's no question. He is a iconoclast. That's a great way to put it. Garrett, speaking of iconoclast, let's take a look at John Harbaugh's team. What were your impressions? It was really hard to get any impressions during the preseason. And I think we understand now the significance of the preseason of some play. I mean, it's a fine line you walk between playing players that can get hurt. But look what happened to the Cincinnati Bengals, who got nothing out of Joe Burrow in training camp, either playing or really practicing much, and they got shellacked pretty good by Cleveland. Your impressions, though, of the Ravens in Week 1?
Well, before we even get to the impressions of the Ravens, let's talk about the preseason for a minute and the wisdom of not playing players.
Yep.
Okay, the number one reason why coaches don't play players in the preseason for the most part is because they don't want them to get hurt.
Sure.
Okay. Well, okay, but look what happened in Week 1. The Ravens had 4 more players go down with injury, one of them for the year, maybe 2. Okay, and the other 2, Stanley and Linderbaum, could be out for a while.
Yep.
So, anytime you step on the field, whether it be Week 1 or preseason 1,
Yep.
there's always a risk. Just because they don't play in the preseason doesn't mean they're not going to get hurt. So I really think the teams need to kind of revisit this a little bit, and just even a smattering of work in the preseason could have helped that offense last week.
Yep.
Now, having said that, okay, so what did I take away from the game? First of all, it's hard to take anything away from that game because of the opponent. You just don't know how bad the Texans are. The Texans' defense actually was pretty good. I like their head coach a lot,
Yep.
who was the defensive coordinator last year for San Francisco. So with that caveat in mind, I would say I think the Ravens did some good things. I think getting Zay Flowers the ball was good, and obviously he's going to be a great player barring injury. I think even though Odell Beckham didn't have a huge impact on the game, he kind of did in a way where he didn't even have to touch the football. He had 2 DPI penalties called against the defense on him.
Mm-hmm.
He made a great over-the-shoulder catch on 3rd down. And I don't know if you noticed, but they moved him around a lot. He was in the slot. He was on the outside. They motioned him. The defense followed him. So even though he may not have had a big impact on the stat sheet, I think he had a big impact on the game. That's number one. Again, the defense, it's hard to know. They played lights out, no doubt, but look who they played against. So Cincinnati, a chip on their shoulder. I can guarantee you Burrow's going to be better this week. This will be a big early season test for both teams.
How do you think the Ravens are a 3-point underdog on superbooksports.com? How do you think this game shapes up?
If I'm a betting man, which I'm not, I would probably – they're a 3-point underdog.
Ravens are probably a 3-point – they're a 3-point underdog.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. I'd probably take Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati, again, with that chip – it's all psychological, Stan.
Yep.
With that chip on the shoulder, this is almost a must-win for Cincinnati. It's hard to go 0-2, but it's even harder to go 0-2 in your division.
Yep.
And you got to win the division. So I think this is a must-win for Cincinnati. I don't know their health going into this game, but I think they're pretty healthy, actually. The Ravens are banged up. So I would think I would go with Cincinnati if I'm a betting man.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, I guess the one position where they are banged up is Joe Burrow, Gary, and I'm just kind of want to ask if there's really, because they have a chance to really, I think, I don't know if destroy is a strong word, but the Ravens secondary going up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Is there any hope that Ronald Darby and Brandon Stevens can slow them down at all? We had Rocky Boyman on yesterday, actually, and he mentioned that Joe Burrow did miss obviously a lot of because of his calf injury in the preseason and in training camp. So he's not as precise as he is maybe later in the season with Chase and T. Higgins. But is there any hope that Darby and this Ravens secondary is able to slow them down and stay in this game?
Well, let me put it this way. Except for general managers around the NFL, did you know who the Houston Texans receivers were coming into that game last week?
No.
I think I knew Nico Collins on the team.
Nobody knows Nico. And I'm not saying obviously they're great football players.
Right.
They're in the NFL. But Nobody knows who Nico Collins is, Tank Dell. I mean, I know they got Robert Woods, but so what? So you're going from that to this. Is there hope? I mean, yeah, of course there's hope. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of that's the game right there, guys, is the Ravens secondary against the Cincinnati pass offense. And unless the Cincinnati offensive line craps the bed, and they hopefully, for them at least, can keep Burrow upright, I think that this is a big matchup favoring Cincinnati.
So what do the Ravens do to try and slow them down? Obviously, it's a game of chess. It's imperative that we get some type of pass rush on Burrow.
Yeah, it's imperative we get a pass rush. By the way, the other thing is this Marcus Williams injury is a big, big injury.
Yeah.
Because now it looks like Kyle Hamilton isn't going to be able to work around the line of scrimmage. He's probably going to have to play back there more often than not. And that's going to take away a key, like a jigsaw piece, I like to call him, like a jack of all. It's not even a jack of all trades.
He's like a Swiss Army knife. He's like a Swiss Army
knife.
Yeah,
right. He can do so much. That's actually better. And now I think he's going to be relegated to being back there. That's going to affect the Ravens defense a lot. That's a huge injury. But anyway,
what you mean is it'll affect their ability to stop the run a little bit.
Yeah, it'll affect their right. I think Kyle is very strong at the line of scrimmage. Even making sure the tight end doesn't get out in the pass pattern. Number one, and number two, like you said, very strong at the line against the run. So you take him out of the equation. Now all of a sudden, lanes open up for Cincinnati. So the interior of the Ravens defense, I'm talking about Matabike and Pierce, the front four, and of course the two inside linebackers, imperative that they are able to stop the run even without a Kyle Hamilton roaming around. It's going to be a tough putt for the Ravens defense. I'm not saying they can't do it. But as far as stopping them is concerned, they're going to have to get the pass rush on the edge. I think they're going to need to get push up the middle. I think Pierce and Matabike did a good job last week, again, but it's Houston, of pressuring the quarterback up the middle and allowing the pass rushers to come from the outside. We'll see if that continues on Sunday.
Yeah, we're going to need Queen and Roquan to play like $20 million linebackers again and be everywhere on the field to try and hang in there. And then, so it seems like we're convinced that the Bengals offense will be able to get theirs. It's just a question of how much. How is the Ravens offense going to be able to keep up? Like what without Linderbaum and Stanley, as we mentioned, are they going to be able to keep Lamar Jackson, give him enough time to hit his guys? Or are we going to see more designed runs for Lamar?
I think Mustipher at center and McCary at left tackle are going to be fine. Not as good as Linderbaum and Stanley, obviously, but probably good enough. But the problem, though, is then it depletes your depth. And now all of a sudden the Ravens have to, call on guys. I can't even pronounce the guy's name. That left guard, that swing guy. I do the Ravens press box PA, and he was inactive last week, and so I had to pronounce his name in the open of my
Malasala Mevai Laulu, I think, right?
I don't have it in front of me, but it took me a couple times. Let's just put it that way. But regardless, so it hurts their depth. And in an early season big game like this, you're going to need depth, especially against Cincinnati. So I think that's something that the Ravens have to be aware of. In terms of attacking the Cincinnati defense, again, I think Zay Flowers is a key. He's not only a pass receiver, but look where they got him the ball. They gave him a jet sweep. They gave him a couple bubble screens out there with a couple, tight ends in front of him, Kohler and Likely. So I think that's going to continue. You'll notice that Patrick Ricard played the majority of snaps last week against Houston. I think you're going to see some power. I think you're going to see some Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, obviously. I think it's going to be multiple. I think Todd Monken's going to want to spread them out like he always does. That's the key. And I think he's got the personnel in order to do that. I think the Ravens are going to score points against Cincinnati. What I'm worried about is the Ravens defense stopping Cincinnati.
So one of the key aspects of this game, Gary, sounds to me like it's time of possession and sort of controlling the narrative a little bit, if you will, and controlling the ball and keeping Joe Burrow off the field with some long drives.
Yeah, I think controlling the ball is always important, but I really think the biggest issue in this game is, can they touch the quarterback? Can the Ravens get enough pressure on Burrow? I'm not even talking about sacking him. Sacking him would be great, okay? But can they touch him enough so that he feels uncomfortable, so that he's thinking about things. If he starts thinking about things, their whole passing offense is predicated on timing. If he starts thinking, then timing gets thrown off, and that gives the DBs a chance. So in my opinion, can they make Burrow feel uncomfortable is the key to the game.
All right. Talking sports with Gary Stein is something I'm always comfortable with. Gary, we appreciate your joining us today. How are things at Studio 83? Busy?
Things are busy. I'm not doing anything differently, so I don't think it's my,
it's all that work I put in strategizing with you.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that work?
But no.
Yeah.
I things are busy. Videos hopping.
I guess the check's in the mail. All right. Gary Stein, always a pleasure to talk to you about sports and certainly in your wheelhouse talking about the Terps and the Ravens. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate you.
All right. That is G. Stein. Again, reminding you, I'm Stan the Fan, sitting in for Glenn Clark, who is off on a Stevenson assignment today. I want to remind you also that both Glenn and myself are basically what you'd call big-time influencers for sports books, Superbook Sports. They're the book that's next door, just a dedicated team of the best odd makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code StanCharles23 or Glenn Clark 23. No spaces, no capitals, all the same, StanCharles23. So bet with the best and use promo code StanCharles23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Back with more of the show after these commercial words.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to pressboxonline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of Pressbox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, September 26th at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand. Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Visit Harford County this fall. Celebrate Arts Across Harford September 15th through the 30th with dance, theater, music, and visual arts. September 29th through October 1st is the largest Italian festival in Maryland, featuring entertainment, cooking demonstrations, a bocce tournament, and family fun. If you're headed to the Maryland 5-Star, stay and play in Harford County. While you're there, enjoy the scenic views atop the King and Queen seats and experience pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and fall brews along their Harford Libation Trail. For more info, head to visitharford.com. Maryland open.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Welcome back in. Stan is in for Glenn today as we continue along on this Friday edition of GCR.
We are sailing along with our first segment behind us now. Want to remind everybody that Ryan Spilborghs, former Major League Baseball player, mostly with the Colorado Rockies. I don't have the other teams he played for in front of me.
Come on, you're an immaculate grid guy, Stan.
Yeah, I know. That's what you got to know now. Yesterday, I had a great grid going until I got the San Diego Padres Gold Glove winner. And the only one that popped out at me that I knew won a Gold Glove was Ozzie Smith, but he was 17%. That threw me off. So that took me from where I was like
Tony
under
Gwynn?
10. I don't think Tony Gwynn ever won a Gold Glove.
He professionally he only played with the Rockies,
Okay.
but he was in the the Cleveland organization as well as the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, okay. But never played a major league game with any of those.
No, he did
So
not.
he's useless in the immaculate grid.
Well, if you need a Rockies guy that had a 270 lifetime batting average,
But he's useless in terms of where would he fit in on an immaculate grid?
If you need a Rocky that had a 270 lifetime batting average.
But they don't do that.
You might need it.
They cross. What's it called
When they do okay, so when they once they go to once they add like the China baseball league, he played for the Cebu Lions.
All right.
Yeah.
Cebu,
sorry,
Lions.
and sorry, that's Japan. Yeah, the Cebu Lions of Japan. So once we cross to international baseball.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Ryan Spilborghs is a very good baseball analyst.
Yes, he is.
And he's with Apple TV. He'll be in town. He is in town already for tonight's game, which will be only available to watch on television on Apple TV.
5-time Gold Glover Tony Gwynn.
5-time Gold Glover.
5-time Gold Glover.
Wow. But I'll bet he would have been, even though I dismissed him as a non-Gold Glove winner, I'll bet he would have been higher than Ozzie Smith. I think Ozzie Smith, in fact, was only 17% because most people think of him only as a St. Louis Cardinal.
Yeah, you're probably right. Right.
So Gwynn
probably would have
like
been a higher.
Higher, okay.
And I would have just had to take my points because I don't think I could name another one.
It's really hard. I mean, has Machado? See, I figured Machado probably has won a Gold Glove at third base over there in 5 seasons. Maybe not because in Arenado.
Yeah, Arenado's won every single one actually.
Right,
So
okay.
he would not.
So he wouldn't, but
Tatis.
it's tricky.
Has
Now that would have had to been his Gold Glove as an Oriole wouldn't count, would it?
I don't think so. I feel like it changes sometimes. Where like sometimes
I don't understand that sometimes.
Tatis has not won a Gold Glove.
Okay,
so he would not work.
No, he has not won a Gold Glove. All right. Anyway, Ryan Spilborghs at 11 o'clock. Todd Karpovich, who is our baseball beat writer for PressBox, will join us at 11:20 to help us figure out whether the sky is falling. We've had Griffin Bass's brother is in the studio with us, Lucas Bass.
Yes,
That's right.
that is correct.
That's right.
All right.
Same last name.
Now you're at Fort Liberty.
Yep, Fort Liberty,
You
North
just
Carolina.
were telling me, are we allowed to talk about what you're training for?
I mean,
or would you have to kill me?
I might.
And
I
all
might
the
have to have
all the
other
listeners.
people take care of that for me.
All right.
But
All right. You're in special ops. You're training to be in special ops.
Yup, that's right.
Wow, important.
How did you decide? How does someone decide at your age? It's such a. I mean, were you aware this was something you wanted to do when you were like 14 or 15?
Well, funnily enough, is that a word?
I don't think so.
Funnily?
I don't think so.
No.
I do not think so.
I don't think.
Ironic.
We
I don't know if
understood
ironic.
what you meant. Yeah. Ironically.
I wanted to be a police officer. Like when I was in high school, I tried really hard for it.
Right.
I applied all over the state of Maryland because I wanted to stay in Maryland, and nobody hired me. And I was young. I never went to college or anything like that, so I had that working against me. But I figured, I had a pretty strong resume, stand-up guy, good references, but I couldn't get hired by anywhere. And I tossed it around in high school, possibly joining the military, but I kind of always talked myself out of it because I didn't really think I had what it took, I guess. And all these doors were just kept closing on me. Yeah, and I was like, well, I got to do something here and I've always wanted to travel. And I was like, well, let me just see what the.
Did you think about a life of crime?
You
life on the run.
You were interested in solving. And
I was thinking about going the other way for a little bit,
Yeah,
and then I figured that wasn't too fun because I think I'd be too good at it and I'd never be caught. So I moved on from that dream. And so I met around with a bunch of different recruiters, and I figured the Army was for me. They're the biggest, the most opportunities. You can jump out of planes, get paid to jump out of planes, which is awesome. Bases all over the world. Of course, I'll be in North Carolina, which is nice. It's only 5-6 hour drive from here. Maybe go to a Tides game. I've always wanted to go to a Tides game. It's kind of close to there. And I figured that was the best for me. And they let you choose your job, which is cool. And I knew I wanted to do something really cool. And they had that opportunity open for me. So
Special ops is fascinating to me. I mean, those are the guys that went in and got Bin Laden, found him and got him.
Yeah.
That could have been you.
It could have been. Should have been born 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
Should have been me.
It's exciting.
Yes, it is.
Exciting.
Yes, it is.
Now, were the two of you both athletes?
I mean, yeah, but like not. I don't know.
Not serious.
No, I mean, I guess I am a dodgeball national champion. So yes.
He's got that going for
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Is that co-ed dodgeball?
I mean, well, it was club.
Hopefully,
it was club.
hopefully.
Well, yes, it was. Yeah, it was
All right.
club level dodgeball and
And how about
national
you,
championship.
Luke? How about you, Lucas?
Yeah, I mean, I
X-House.
always liked playing sports. I obviously not a national champion.
No.
But we play basketball pretty much 3 or 4 times a week at the gym down in North Carolina, and
You
that's
the
always
point guard?
fun. I feel like I've got a pretty good eye. I think I got pretty good handles and stuff. I'm not good beyond the arc, but I can drive and
You're a
make
brawler.
moves. So yeah, I feel like I'm a pretty good one up top there. Probably
All right.
key.
Wow. Okay.
Give me some big men underneath.
And how big a sports fan are you? We know that your brother Griffin lives for sports.
I mean, I always kind of thought myself as not a huge sports fan compared to him because he was always my competition. Like he always knew anything ever. If I had a question about Russian ping pong, I could ask him and he'd know.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I never
Don't ask me
really,
right now.
I was kind of always like, well, compared to him, I'm nothing. But then, kind of joining the Army and talking about sports, I kind of became the sports guy. I was like, oh, maybe I know. I picked up some stuff through osmosis or whatever through him. And plus he would write me letters when I was in basic and we didn't have our phones or anything like that. And he would write detailed letters, pretty much play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch, pretty much every Oriole game, March Madness when that was going on. He sent us brackets, like 10 brackets, and I passed them around. And we had
So you ever run a pool down there?
Yeah, keep them hidden. And so that was really cool. Like it kind of became a thing towards the end of basic where everybody would kind of like gather around and we read pretty much his letters because everybody was wondering what was going on. Obviously, like the Orioles were having a historical year, and that was the big thing because everybody was like, the Orioles are crap. They were just saying terrible things about the Orioles.
Yeah. Well,
and,
we were supposed to win 76 and a half games.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, check this out. And they're like, no, there's no way. And then especially like UFC, he kept a lot of people in, like the John Paul Jones fight.
John Bones.
John Paul
Jones.
He was a pirate, I think. In the Army. Anyway, but so yeah, he kept us really in
Navy,
in date
actually.
for that Navy.
Yeah.
Well, still same. Anyway, so yeah, he was the bigger sports fan, but I've definitely picked up a lot more, especially kind of coming out of high school, and I could choose. I had more time to like choose and what to watch and stuff. But like last year, the years before I left, we'd probably go to like 15, 20 of those games, try to go as many Towson games and stuff. So through him, I became a really big sports fan.
All right.
Yeah, well, I'm glad my daily sports column was able to serve this country. In a way.
Kept morale high.
So you guys are tight. I can tell.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right. Well, welcome aboard, Lucas.
I appreciate it. I'm
Lucas
glad to be
Bass.
here.
Hey, the place to be after this and every Ravens game this season is Pressbox's Project Game Day. Glenn Clark and Rita Hubbard will react live to every game, offering their truly uncensored opinions about the team's decisions and results in each game. Plus, they'll be joined by some very special guests during the year, and you can chime in live during each show. Watch the shows live at youtube.com/pressboxonline.com and watch Glenn Clark Radio or the NFL Chick on Twitter for a Zoom link that will allow you to be a part of the show. So join Glenn and Rita this Sunday after Ravens Bengals. Project Game Day is brought to you by Superbook Sports and helpmygamblingproblem.org. And again, I just want to explain, you watch the shows live at youtube.com/pressboxonline and watch Glenn Clark Radio or the NFL Chick on Twitter for a Zoom link that will allow you to be a part of the show. And while I'm at it, I just want to tell folks that the Tyus Bowser Show is back for Season 3. And by the way, we will, at the end of today's program here, I will kick it to a segment
final
from
segment,
this
from
past
Tuesday's
week's show, which was at the
Hamilton
Hamilton
Sports Bar and Grill.
Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill. But it's back for Season 3. And by the way, the interview today, in case you missed it, is Rashod Bateman.
Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one. You do not want to miss this.
Yeah, you do not want to miss that. Tyus Bowser Show is back for Season 3. Tyus and his special guests will join Glenn and Rita all over town throughout the season, giving you the chance to get the inside scoop and rub elbows with your favorite players. Tyus Bowser Show is a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's Memorabilia and is brought to you by Superbook Sports and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. For more information, visit PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, September 26th at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North.
Mm-hmm. Do not want to miss those. Do not want to miss those. You don't want to miss the Project Game Day either. I know Glenn and Rita are working hard to have. They're going to have some pretty good guests on the show as well as you, the listeners. So that's going to be some good stuff.
All right, there we have it. What's left on the show today, Mr. Bass?
We still got Ryan Spilborghs coming up in just a couple of moments here, and then we're going to check in with Todd Karpovich. I think we'll try to squeeze in some fighting words as well as that Tyus Bowser segment. So still a lot to come here as we preview the weekend for you. Big Rays Orioles series continues, and obviously Ravens Bengals. We'll be able to get into all of that as we move along.
You know, one of the interesting aspects of this discussion, and I wouldn't say that we've had a rather heated discussion or an in-depth discussion about the Orioles, whether the sky is falling or whether this is just a little speed bump on the road to deep into the postseason, was the attendance. This homestand, the Orioles came home. I heard that, hey, not to worry, the Tampa Bay series is, the advances on these games is really great. The 4 games that the Orioles have played so far, 3 against St. Louis and last night's against Tampa, the average attendance for those 4 games, 17,500, roughly, okay? Not good. I'm surprised. I was surprised. I got to be honest with you. I thought the attendance held up well all season long until they came home. I think it was like August 22nd, that series against the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays at the time were probably 6-7 games behind the Orioles, maybe as many as 8 or 9. But it was a big series, and you would have thought that the advance on games like that, a head-to-head against one of your division rivals, a team that on paper looked to be pretty much as good as the Orioles or better, that series would have drawn in the 30s for all 3 games. But lo and behold, it was a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It could have been a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but they were weeknights. And the attendance for each of those games was like 22,000. Now, that was before kids went back to school. Then the Rockies came to town. Not an attractive, opponent, but they had the Felix Bautista bobblehead on Saturday night, which ironically, he got hurt the Friday night.
Right.
So that's a horrible thing with the bobblehead thing. They really should do something different with that. Anyway, the attendance for that game Saturday night was 44,000 people. It was a sellout. But the Friday and Sunday games were not that great. And now they come home for this series. Granted, St. Louis, not a great opponent this year, but a storied franchise comes to Baltimore maybe every 4 years or something like that, at least the way interleague play was played before this season, where everybody plays everybody. So they'll be here more often. But 15,000 a game for those 3 games. And now, last night against the Tampa Bay Rays, just 24,000 fans. 4 games, average of 17,000 fans per game. A little bit disappointed, more than a little bit.
Yeah.
Lucas?
Yeah, I mean, it was my first game, obviously, this year. And like I said earlier, we'd always be going to the games. And I always thought, like last night, I was really impressed with the crowd, actually. And I think that was just because coming out of our years prior where it was just dismal. So,
yeah,
that's my take on it.
And I echo that, too. I think maybe it was a smaller crowd than maybe we were expecting, but I felt like the crowd that was there was very invested in the game and was hanging on with every single pitch.
Yeah, but
that
that used to be translated in the turnstile count, and 24,000 against the team that you're trying to win the division against.
Maybe people aren't happy with the ownership. Maybe they're trying to,
Maybe they're saying something. Yeah. Maybe they're saying something. Do we have our guest?
Yes, we do.
All right. I've had this gentleman on a couple times, once on the old Bat Around show and a couple times sitting in for Glenn. He is Ryan Spilborghs. And Ryan, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Baltimore's nice right now. Weather's awesome.
It is. It's beautiful weather. Ryan, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just discovered that as far as the immaculate grid goes, you are irrelevant. You're useless in the immaculate grid.
That's not true.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Have you won a Silver Slugger award, a Gold Glove award?
No, but I hit 300 multiple seasons in the big league. So, I'm good on the Rockies if you'd put me on a player with over 300 seasons.
Okay. I stand corrected. Because to me, you've always been uber relevant, but now to hear that, I'm glad. Because I played a grid.
Yeah, I can help you win. I'm like a .0000001. You should have a really good rarity score if you pick me.
We do a Zoom each week with Ross Grimsley. I'm sure you're familiar with that name. And Ross is a 0.02 guy, so we call him the old 0.2 percenter. But it's good to talk to you, Ryan. This is a pretty intriguing matchup, isn't it, between the Rays and the Orioles? I think dollar-wise, we would have expected it to be Toronto and Boston, or the Yankees in Toronto. Orioles and Tampa, pretty interesting series.
I love it. I love it for so many different reasons. I think, first off, let's start with homegrown talent and kind of thinking outside the box. Both Tampa and Baltimore have done a good job in the last couple of years. I think, from people that are looking from the outside, and to your point, you might have thought Yankees, you might have thought Boston. Boston fired Chaim Bloom yesterday. So, getting your butt kicked by the Orioles and Tampa year after year after year eventually led to some of the big guys getting rid of their executives. So I think it's important, especially at this time, when you're talking about the Orioles and what's gone on in the last couple of years. There's been moments where, it hasn't been fun. It hasn't been fun to talk about. There's been an elephant in the room, right? Like when you talk about slashing payroll and some of the decision making, and then now it comes full circle, and you're watching this team on the verge of winning a division with Baltimore against a team like Tampa, which is I don't think any team in baseball has gone through as much up and downs as far as on-field issues, off-field issues, players getting hurt, key players, and stay in a position like the Tampa Bay Rays are at. So even if you're not a fan of the Rays, that organization's pretty easy to cheer for just because of how they've gone about their business.
Ryan, I do a weekly Major League Baseball power rankings, and I had actually about 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, Tampa had been 1 through 3 the entire season. They were number 1 for probably the first 2 months of the season. They gradually moved down a little. I had them when the Franco injury hit, the Franco situation came up, and it was kind of assumed that he wasn't going to play again this year. I moved them all the way down to number 10. They barely stayed. That was about 4 weeks ago. How have they been able to withstand the losses of Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, and Jeffrey Springs, and now this terrible loss of Wander Franco? And how have they been able to bounce back and look like the better team right this second?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like I've used the analogy of Tampa Bay Rays are like a really good college football program where the system works, and you can mix and match the parts, and year after year, through the transfer portal or somebody getting drafted, the team continues to win. And so in the case of Tampa, I mean, they built depth. In the Franco situation, really it's a black eye. I mean, it's a terrible story.
Yep.
He's not going to play this year. I don't know if he ever plays.
Yep.
But they were able to move past it, and it's tough to talk about baseball when you're talking about stuff like that. But in the baseball vacuum, Taylor Walls has stepped up. They have Zasane who's stepped up. They have all these players that you've never even heard of that have stepped up. And I'll give you an example. Robert Stevenson, who is a bullpen reliever, and you know that the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen, I think it's 34 consecutive innings without giving up a run. That's crazy. And it's names you've never heard of. Robert Stevenson was with the Rockies for about 3 years. And when Robert would come into the game, people will go, "Oh no, here comes Bob," and the game's about to get blown out, right? Like he was not even a plus side reliever. He was somebody, when he came in the game was over, and it wasn't in the Rockies' favor. He comes to Tampa, and he's with Kyle Snyder. And by the way, Kyle Snyder, the pitching coach for Tampa, would be the highest probably desirable person in baseball, better than a free agent, better than an executive, because Snyder has this magic touch. And Snyder got Robert Stevenson to buy into his cutter and his slider and to throw it a little bit harder. And if you've looked at Robert Stevenson, believe it or not, second half stat numbers are better than Devin Williams, better than Josh Hader, better than people that are the elite closers in baseball. And that to me says what Tampa's doing with players that you've never heard of.
Well, they took a guy who we took off the scrap heap, Sean Armstrong, and turned him into a serviceable reliever. He's in Tampa. He's been there now. I think this is parts of his third season with Tampa, and he's having almost like, I'm not comparing it exactly to Zach Britton, but his earned run average, and he's pitched in probably about 50 games this year, maybe more. His earned run average is like 0.8. So that's another one that Kyle Snyder kind of helped out.
Yeah, there's too many cases of where the Tampa Bay Rays see something, and I do point out, one of the big benefits for Tampa is that they do play in a dome, and the reason why I always point this out is because they do have differences with their splits, their home road splits for the pitching staff, and you could imagine, Tampa is baseball's biggest pitching lab. That is the place where, like your slider in the bullpen is the same slider that you could throw in the game. And so they are dialed in Tampa. And there's a reason why these guys, they build confidence, and then they end up having the performance to follow suit. So they have some additional benefits. A lot of teams that do play in domes, Arizona, you saw a big increase in pitching this year.
Mm-hmm.
Houston for the last couple of years. Toronto should be doing better, but they keep the roof open all the time. The variables of playing outside versus the variables of playing within a dome, there's an advantage there, and Tampa's taking advantage of that.
That's very interesting, because that's not something I would have readily picked up on. Very interesting. The Orioles, up until 12, 13, 14 days ago, it looked like it was sort of destiny that the Orioles were going to win the division. Since then, we lost Felix Bautista, which is a major, major blow. But I think we've got the arms that can. In other words, our little mini slump here has nothing to do with games not being closed out. But the Ryan Mountcastle injury is sneakily seems like a more dangerous injury for the Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, let me get Bautista first.
Yep.
Bautista, yeah, I've been arguing on our national radio show that Bautista should be a Cy Young and an MVP candidate, just based on the season that he's had. Bautista's been amazing. You know, you don't want to go into 8th or 9th inning with Cano or Bautista because the game's over. So for 5.5 months, the Orioles were basically playing a 7-inning game.
Yep.
Which very few teams in baseball that did that. So it is a devastating blow. I'm also, I was happy to hear that he's starting to play some catch. They're not sure if they're going to get him back, but I mean, Bautista really had a season, one for the ages, especially when you consider, relievers and closers. They often don't get much love when it comes to MVP voting. As far as Mountcastle, I think they kind of dodged the bullet yesterday, hearing that there's a chance that he's day-to-day. Because I'm with you. I think Mountcastle, when I look at Baltimore's lineup, top to bottom, it's a long lineup. So I like that they don't chase a lot. I like that there's power there. I like that there's on base. I like that they what I like to say, stack the lineup. So every single inning, there's a chance that somebody's on base. Mountcastle not being in the 5 or 6 hole kind of dampers the lineup a little bit. You're putting a lot more pressure on some of these young players to step up, and it's not easy. You got your major league debut with Kjerstad yesterday, and he's pinch hitting late, which I love. I think that's awesome that he's pinch hitting in a leverage spot in the game. But that's still a lot of pressure on guys just kind of getting their feet wet at the major league level.
We're talking with Ryan Spilborghs. Ryan is the co-host of the Power Alley. Can be heard on, 89, channel 89 on your Sirius.
Yeah, we're loud out. We're loud out.
I'm sorry. I apologize. You took over. You took over the old Power Alley show. Yep,
That's
it's
right.
a loud outs, and that show is. Are you Monday through Friday in that afternoon slot?
Yep, we are Monday through Friday, basically 2 to 5 Eastern.
Okay, and is that with CJ every day, or is Brad Lidge part of that as well?
We mix and match.
Mix and match.
Whenever Lidge feels like working.
All right. Ryan is here to do tonight's game, color analyst on the Apple broadcast. Griffin Bass has a question for you, Ryan.
Now that we've been talking about these injuries, Bautista and Mountcastle, we've kind of gone back and forth all summer whether we think this Orioles team is capable of winning a World Series. Certainly, the loss of Bautista, and we're not sure how long Mountcastle will be out, kind of dampers that. But how far do you think this Orioles team is capable of going this season?
I mean, there's been different times where I think they can go all the way. I still think they're capable of doing it. If they win the division, I like their chances a lot more. Going through the wild card is going to be kind of a gauntlet. So if you can win the division, and now if the Orioles win a game, they have the tiebreaker on Tampa.
Right.
So that's huge. So and of course you want to win. You want to take the series. So you want to win the next 3. If you split the series, you're still okay. So you won't get any ground game by Tampa. But if Baltimore does win their division, which I really do think they can do it, then I like their chances for a pretty deep run. But if they don't, the challenge is going to be extra tax on the starting rotation, which we know has been kind of weakened a little bit. And we also know that it's going to put extra burden on the bullpen. So if they can get the division, I would like their chances for a nice long run.
Hey, we talked about Kyle Snyder. Chris Holt's been doing a pretty sensational job here for a couple of years. I think he's in year 3 as pitching coach of the Orioles. But one of the pitchers he hasn't quite reached yet is Jack Flaherty. I'm sure you've seen Flaherty a good bit being out there in Colorado, doing a lot of work in Colorado National League. What's up with him, and is he capable of more down the stretch here?
He is. I think his struggle has been, when you're coming back from a shoulder injury,
Yep.
which is what Jack's come back from,
Yep.
you tend to lose your release point. And I saw this multiple times. You saw him early in the year when he was with St. Louis. multiple release points on different pitches. So a fastball 4-seam might be higher, 2-seam might be lower, slider might be at a different angle, and the cutter might be at a different angle. So it basically alerts a hitter of what's coming. So any sort of discrepancy for major league hitters, they'll pick it up. So I think in the case of Jack Flaherty was trying to figure out which pitches can he throw from the same release point that he can throw for strikes. And that's been the challenge, right? So you do have somebody that's coming back from injury that is doing has some mechanical flaws. And when you have mechanical flaws and then you're not able to throw strikes, that basically compounds into what you get with Jack. I mean, this guy's a good competitor. He's been there before. He's got the stuff if he's right. So I believe in this guy. I think he was worth the trade. But you're also dealing with somebody that has some other issues outside of baseball, right? The mechanics and the mental side of it.
Yeah.
So, and I can't answer that question for him.
I got one other question about Flaherty real quick, and then I got one other baseball question before we let you go, Ryan. If you were Jack Flaherty's agent, I've watched him now pitch 6-7 times for the Orioles. Loved him back in 2019. I thought he was the best pitcher in all of baseball in 2019. Is he a future closer candidate to you in your mind? Is he more likely to be a star as a closer or getting back to being Jack Flaherty from 2019?
That's interesting. I haven't thought about him as a closer just because of the walk rate. I mean, he really can't afford to put people on base late in the game, so I would shy away from a closer's role for now.
Okay.
I certainly think his stuff is good enough to do whatever he wants, but you know, in the case of every pitcher that's ever pitched in the big leagues wants to be a starter.
Yep.
Because that's how you make more money.
I hear you.
I mean, that's the key, right? Like if you're talking about him as a back end reliever, that's a 1-year deal. If you're talking about him as a starter, that's a 3 to 4 year deal and buku bucks.
Yeah.
So,
I always use the example, Ryan, when I used to argue with Kevin Malone about this in Baltimore back in the 90s, that Arthur Rhodes, I always said he was a relief pitcher. He ended up having about a 16 or 17-year career where he made $50 million. Doesn't look the way Jack's career is going right now that he's going to, be able to max out as a starter. So that's just my take.
Never know.
All right.
You never know.
Hey, I got one other question. Yesterday, Boston Red Sox relieved Chaim Bloom of his job, and a note came out online on Twitter that since Theo Epstein left in 2011, Ben Charrington was GM for 1,363 days, Dave Dombrowski 1,425 days, Chaim Bloom 1,417 days. Are we ready to see Theo Epstein dip his toes back into running a baseball team and maybe part of the deal with a bonus of some type of small ownership stake in the Red Sox?
That'd be interesting. I mean, it's from all the accounts that I've heard with Theo, I mean, he's on a track to become the future MLB commissioner. So
yeah.
I think that's a better role for him.
Yeah.
He's already helped implement the Don shift and some of these base stealing rules. That's on Theo.
Yeah,
so
I know that.
His recommendation. So I don't see him coming back to Boston. I mean, he's already won it there, so I don't know why he would want to go back.
Interesting.
I think you're moving on. You're probably looking at some executives from other organizations. I would key in on Atlanta. I'd key in on the Dodgers. Any of their executives like a Brandon Gomes.
Okay.
Might be interesting.
Interesting. Always learn more when I talk to you, Ryan. I appreciate it very much.
You got it. My pleasure.
All right. There's Ryan Spilborghs of Loud Outs.
Hey,
Boy,
Ryan,
it shows I hadn't listened to the
Appreciate
show in a
taking
while,
time.
Lucas. I called it the Power Alley.
Power
that was
Alley?
the old show that Jim Bowden and Casey Stern used to do.
Oh, really?
Power Alley.
Power Alley.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I could have, shot myself for that. This show's Loud Outs.
Loud Outs, of course.
That used to be the Saturday morning show on XM. But I'm not in my car as much since the pandemic.
Mm.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Yes, it is.
From Ryan Spilborghs.
he's very knowledgeable. Looking forward to hearing him tonight on the Apple TV Plus call.
Yeah. Who's doing the play-by-play on that game? Do we know?
That's a good question. I think it's been Alex Faust the last couple weeks, or at least over the summer it was. I can have an answer for you shortly.
They also have an Anderson. Brian Anderson does some.
He does the Apple TV games sometimes?
I think he
I do love me some Brian Anderson.
Yeah. He's a solid guy. Todd Karpovich due up shortly. He will be joining us to close out sort of baseball coverage on the program. Lucas Bass the brother of Griffin Bass. Lucas, are you worried about the Orioles right now after this mini streak of losing 3 games in a row, 4 out of 5?
It's nothing that we haven't really been through before. I mean, yeah, it's tough to lose 2 to the Cardinals, who are obviously not a good baseball team, and then going into, like you said, an important series against the Rays, and then Houston, it's going to show a lot. But, I mean, we've seen this team be resilient more than anything else we've seen, so I'm not worried too much.
There's always a level the first time a team is truly a contender.
Mm-hmm.
Are they ready for, what they're facing right now with Tampa? If they somehow get by the gauntlet and stay in front of Tampa,
right,
bodes really well for this team being a really incredibly tough out.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
It is Alex Faust, by the way, alongside
Alex
Ryan
Faust.
Spilborghs tonight on Apple TV.
All right. Todd Karpovich up next. The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving. What are you doing?
I'm trying to get Lucas to grab the press box so he can show it.
The press box. I'm sorry.
As we're doing the read
like
here.
You were pointing at the spittle,
the
spittle-lating mic screen.
My fault. I totally derailed everything.
Hold that up. Let's start this again. The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is he ready to take the Ravens to the next level with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry, Pete Shinnick bring to Navy and Towson respectively, and we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. We'll be back with Todd Karpovich after these commercial messages.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The Maryland 5-Star returns to iconic Fair Hill October 19th to 22nd, marking the next chapter in Maryland's equestrian tradition. Best described as the triathlon of horse eventing, you won't want to miss this thrilling sport. Enjoy a fall festival with local fare, retail vendors, and tons of family fun. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront with vibrant small towns and accommodations to suit every desire. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand. Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to pressboxonline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of Pressbox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, September 26th at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports.
Make sure you're tuned in every Tuesday for Pressbox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Kahn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
We are back. Stan the Fan sitting in for Glenn Clark, who had to address some Stevenson business, Stevenson University.
We're making it sound.
Rumors that he's going to take over as Dean Clark.
Dean Clark.
Yeah.
That'd be something. That would really be something.
Superman, that was Dean Cain.
Was it?
Yeah, boy, he had a
great
career. Hey, real quick, I do 2 Zooms every week, Monday and Thursday normally. The Thursday Zoom is usually at 7 o'clock. The Monday Zoom has moved around a little bit, but it's worth finding. This week we'll probably be on at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson, and I kicking the baseball around the field. We'll be talking about it. Don't have the guest yet for midweek. Been holding out for somebody. We'll keep you abreast of that. And don't forget the guys that do the show Saturday morning. I'm on with them at about 10:25 to 10:50, and that is the Bat Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman. All right. Todd Karpovich joins us now. Todd is kind of the beat writer for the Baltimore Orioles for Pressbox. I misstated that. But he's also does so much more. Todd, how many different publications and websites do you write for? Is it over 20 yet?
It used to be that way. I'm cutting it down, Stan, with you guys, basically, covering the Orioles. We're doing the Associated Press.
All right. You're the man, though, Todd. You're on top of everything. Tell us the Orioles. 1-3 over these last 4 games. A mini little slump here. It's the first time they have faced a little bit of adversity this year. Are they able to glide past it, or do you think they're ready for a little bit deeper fall right now, Todd?
Well, last night I thought, after the game, you thought those guys would have been, despondent. They lost 3 in a row. But they seem pretty optimistic. Hyde said, we're gonna flush this one and start tomorrow. They still got 3 games with the Rays. They can still, have a good series here. Last night was disappointing. The bats were the problem. They struck out 15 times. They didn't get. I think they were tied the last 14 batters to end the game. They had 4 hits, 2 were solo home runs. But after the game, the players and Hyde seem optimistic. They're ready to bounce back. So, hopefully for the Orioles, they can right the ship today, because this is the biggest series maybe the biggest series in Camden Yards history as far as what's going to mean for the regular season.
Yeah,
so,
I would say. I would say this is the biggest series since we beat the Tigers in 14. I think this is the biggest series since then. And as it revealed itself in 2014, that team wasn't quite as good as a lot of us thought they were. They had some on-base issues back then. But this team has had the staying power for 143, 145 games, and they've got to be able to close it out. Todd, what have your impressions been of Jack Flaherty? And I think of any of the members of the starting rotation you'd want on the mound tonight. Flaherty, so far, what he's shown us would make him the least desirable candidate for this guy, but he's also probably had the best season of any pitcher the Orioles have had. The Orioles have on their roster in the major leagues back in 2019.
Yeah, he's largely been a disappointment since he came to the Orioles.
Yep.
Maybe it's the adjustment to the American League, to the AL East. But yeah, he has not pitched well, and he admits that. He owns it. He says, he's got to get out of this funk, and he's got to get out of it tonight because there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to throw. He's got to go deeper into games. He's got to show better command. He's got to not give up home runs. This is a big start for Flaherty and the Orioles tonight. Yeah, he has not pitched the same way he pitched in St. Louis, but and he's taking responsibility for it, which is a good thing. But now you got to perform. You got to get it done because this is a big game tonight. They got a sellout crowd. They got Adam Jones from the back. It's going to be electric down there. So it's going to go a long way. As far as the rest of the Orioles season, setting the momentum tonight.
What's your take on the Adam Jones and the Orioles relationship now? It seems to have been, first of all, I don't think it was ever deeply severed or hurt by Jones's not taking that trade to Phillies back in 18. But there was some distance between the two sides. It seems like the relationship is warmed up.
Yeah, it really does. I think Adam, when he was the further he got removed from the game, he learned to appreciate it. I think he was angry the way it ended with the Orioles. I think he wished they had reached out to him earlier when he left. To have something for him at the park. And I think as time went on, the wounds healed. And Adam Jones, I think it's a big night for him tonight. And hopefully, he can do something with the organization going forward. In some capacity, because he's definitely a guy you want to have around. He was a loyal. He played hard every single day. He was a role model for the other players. He was great with the fans. Hopefully this relationship is not just a short-term thing. It's a long-term thing where Adam Jones could find to work with the club in some capacity because I think it'd be positive. I think it'd be positive for the Orioles to have him around.
Yeah, I think one of the smart things John Angelos did when he took over running the team was reach out to two iconic Orioles, Eddie Murray and Brooks Robinson, to have them kind of on board in a ceremonial. I mean, they both make a little bit of money, but in a ceremonial fashion, so you got somebody there. It sure seems, I'm not limiting Adam to that, but it sure seems like Adam could be part of that in the future, maybe a broadcasting role of some kind, maybe a consultancy role. But it does seem like there's a fit for Adam Jones and the Orioles moving forward.
Yeah, and the thing is, the fans here, they love the players. I mean, people love it.
I mean, nobody hits you in the face with a pie better than Adam Jones.
No, and they endeared him to the fans, So yeah, the fans always seem to side with the players in these little spats with the club. So yeah, it behooves the Orioles to kind of bring these guys back and show them some love and get them involved because the fans appreciate it. Yeah. Like I said, the fans, they take the side of the players because the players are the ones on the field performing.
Todd, it's Griffin here. While we're talking about Adam Jones, Mr. Oriole for 10 years while he was here, we're kind of waiting for that next who should be Mr. Oriole, a guy who made a spectacular grab last night playing Adam Jones' position. Cedric Mullins, do you want to see an extension? I mean, we want to see extension for a lot of these guys, but should Cedric Mullins be number one on that list?
I think so. I think Cedric Mullins should be number one on that list. Just the way he plays, the way he contributes to the team. I think he could be, he'd be affordable. They can get this deal done. He's not going to be like Adley Rushman sort of negotiations. I think Cedric wants to be here. I think he's a good fit here, and I think that would send a good message to the team. All three of those outfielders, Cedric, Austin Hayes, and Santander. All three of those guys, they were here during the lean times, and they played their hearts out. Now, they're with a team pushing for 100 wins. But yeah, I think Cedric will be a guy. They should sit down and try to get this done, as soon as possible. And same thing, and Hayes is signed for the year. But those three guys, they're sort of mainstays. They talk about the young guys in the clubhouse. We asked about it yesterday, but you got guys. Some of the veteran guys are really the glue for this team for the young guys' leadership. Yeah, I think Cedric would be a great guy to sort of extend because he's got a lot of good baseball ahead of him.
Getting back to the team as it's currently faring, the Ryan Mountcastle situation. Let me put the cart back behind the horse. Felix Bautista, you don't reasonably see any chance he's going to pitch again this year, do you?
No, I don't. I think they're just hoping he doesn't do Tommy John and they shut down all next year.
Right.
I think that's the goal now. Maybe doing some light stuff and seeing how that elbow feels. Because I think, if he was going to have Tommy John, I think they would have did it, right away.
Yeah.
You want to do that as early as possible so they get back as soon as possible.
But you haven't heard anything about him getting a PRP injection either, have you yet?
No, I've not.
Okay.
They've been real hush with these, but they sort of don't let him talk to the media. They keep him distance when he's around.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
I don't think he pitches this year, but I think the goal is to have him ready for next year.
Okay. But the other injury, which is more thorny right now because the lineup doesn't look as potent as it does when Ryan Mountcastle is available. Do you think they bit the bullet on this thing?
Well, Hyde said yesterday they were really pleased with the test results for Mountcastle. He said before the game yesterday he was available off the bench. Now, why he didn't come off the bench in a game like that when you needed his bat, I don't know. So maybe they'll give him a couple of days. But Hyde said he's not an IL candidate. He's not an IL candidate. He's going to be with the team. So maybe they'll give him a few days that shoulder. But I tell you what, Ryan was really despondent when he said after that game. He looked like it was going to be a long-term thing.
Yep.
But Orioles said no. So I guess we'll have to see if he's in the lineup tonight. I don't suspect he'll be in the lineup tonight. I guess maybe look from the pinch hit. But yeah, that's something to keep an eye on.
Okay, fascinating. Tonight the Orioles match up. The game is on Apple TV. It's not available on Masson. Tonight it's Jack Flaherty against Zach Eflin tonight at 7:05. Tomorrow night, and I guess you should be in your seats like by about 6:30 tonight for the celebration.
6:30 is the ceremony, and they're going to have 48,000 people down there.
Yeah,
so the earlier you get down there, the better.
That's great. It's the first night of Rosh Hashanah, so I'm not going to be able to make it down tonight. But I'm upset about that because Adam Jones, one of my favorite Orioles of recent vintage, no question about it.
You got a higher power edge to you, Stan.
Yeah, I understand that. I got to stay on the side of the big man upstairs.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking about John Angelos. I'm talking about the big man. The really big man.
I'll do that tonight. I'll do that tonight for your space. Yeah.
So far, the Brandon Hyde has been able to kind of expertly navigate, partly because of game situations, and I'm not taking anything away from losing Bautista, but it seems like with Cano, Fuji, Hall, Jorge Lopez coming back, it seems like this club is fairly well fortified to figure it out late in games, doesn't it?
Yeah, he can. I think they can, absorb. When the Batista injury happened, people panicked, but I think Hyde had enough arms back there to absorb it. I think Cano can close. He has good stuff. He's got some depth back there, and then you get into the postseason, you got some of these starters who can move to the bullpen and give them some long relief. So I think they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. My biggest concern right now with the Orioles is hitting the ball because they have not hit the ball in the last 3 games.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I left out the two left-handers, Cionel Perez, who's had a remarkable return to form, and Danny Colomb, who's been a great pickup. Yeah, so the Orioles bullpen hasn't been the reason for this little skid here. Todd, we really appreciate your being on. Griffin, you got one more for Todd?
Yeah. As we're talking about Brandon Hyde, is he a shoo-in for the AL Manager of the Year, or are we going to have to wait and see who wins this division?
I think it's between him and Cash. Cash has dealt with a lot of adversity this year. Losing his number one pitcher, he had that controversy, with one of his players, and they've overcome it. I think, I think it comes down to who wins the division because I think they're neck and neck. I do think Braden Hyde deserves it. I think Braden Hyde has shown, you look at his full record here, what he's been able to do with this club. I do think Braden Hyde deserves it. But, yeah, I think it'll come down to him and Cash.
Todd, let me ask you lastly before we go. Do you understand, does the media understand what his status is? I'm not suggesting he's going anywhere, but is he signed through next year, or is this something at the end of the year, whatever extension they gave him, you could see them saying, hey, let's make this more, a little bit, reward him with 3 years or something like that?
I would hope so. Him and Elias have a good relationship.
Yep.
Unlike Buck and Duquette. So I think that Hyde earned it. He's earned it. I think he likes it here. I think he's comfortable. I think the players like him.
Yep.
He's a good fit. Yeah, I think Elias does extend something in the offseason here to get Hyde signed for a couple more years.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one of the things, about Brandon that I really appreciate, it's one of the behind-the-scenes things that you and I and all the other members of the media got to witness, is Brandon knows his position. He's the manager of the baseball team. He's going to get some input behind the scenes, but he doesn't need to politic for certain things publicly, undermining a GM.
Yeah, and he takes accountability too.
Yep.
He takes accountability, which I love. He never complains about his roster. I mean, you look back at those lean years.
Yep.
For Brandon, what kind of bullpen he had? He had a bunch of class offers.
Well, and every time somebody surfaced to save games, he got dealt about 2 weeks later.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with you, Stan. Brandon's done a great job. Taking accountability, being a leader, and putting this club in a position to win.
Hey, I know you can't do it with your good friend Jeff Seidel, who passed away, but is there a Brandon Hyde book coming out? Are you working on that, or is that something you and I should work on?
Maybe you and I, Stan. Seidel was a great marketing guy. Well, he could find the contract. God bless him.
He was a good man. He was a good man. I miss him all the time. His son Zach does a good job over there at UMBC.
Awesome job, yes. His daughter's doing really well too.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us, Todd. It's great to talk to you. I've missed seeing you out at the park, but I know you're busy. You're busy watching and covering sports somewhere.
Yeah, that's right, Stan. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye. There you have it. That's Todd Karpovich. That's the guest portion of our show. We're going to be at about 12 noon. We're going to play the last segment of the Tyus Bowser Show from the other night at the Guilford.
At the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill.
I did it twice. I can automatically.
We will be at Guilford at some point. Yes.
This next show.
No, this next show is at Guilford.
Next show on the 26th. Of course. That's what I was thinking about. But this other show was at the Hamilton.
Exactly. It was a good one, so you do not want to miss.
Yeah. Tyus Bowser Show coming up. We play the last segment on whenever there is a Tyus Bowser Show that Friday. We get to hear part of it on the show. But right now, Griffin Bass, what's going on at Live Casino Hotel?
Over at Live, they got something to beat the heat and be ready to rock at the R Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. It's located right in the center of the casino floor. The R Bar features live music on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and a seasonal rotation of yard drinks, including a vodka Red Bull slush and a frozen Mount Gay rum runner. So try all the different combinations at the R Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Again, it's the R Bar right in the middle of the casino floor over there at Live Casino. It's at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. And for help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. That's Griffin Bass with what's going on at Live Casino Hotel. Do we have another break?
We do have one more break to get to.
We have one more break. We're going to take that now. We'll sort of recap the show. We'll get a tidbit. Are we doing a tidbit?
Yeah, we'll do a tidbit. I think Lucas is going to bring us tidbit today. Actually.
Really?
Tidbit. Big day.
Luke Bass is going to do it. All right. Do you prefer Luke or Lucas?
That's weird.
You're a Lucas guy.
Yeah, Lucas. I'll go by Lucas then.
Yeah, okay. Lucas Bass.
Really?
All right.
I call you Luke sometimes.
I know. I mean, it's weird. I've been going by my last name for the past 7 months, so it's kind of weird to hear my first name again. So I gotta try to get used to it again.
I got a buddy of mine, a working buddy of mine that's worked for years at Maroon PR, and I was talking to him yesterday. Matt Lund is his name.
Yeah.
So I hadn't talked to him in a couple of years. I said, "What's new?" Wife and I had our first baby. What's the name? Luke.
Luke
That's
Lund?
a great name. Luke Lund.
Luke Lund.
L-U-N-D.
He's like being an
I
actor.
He said power hitting. Power hitting outfielder.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's definitely a need for those.
Yeah, definitely.
Just one-syllable names.
We'll take our time out, and we'll be back with a tidbit, a little bit of tubular, and we'll kick it over to the Tyus Bowser Show.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource, home to EasyPass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com will keep you moving.
All aboard! The Orioles train keeps on moving, and it's ahead of schedule. The Birds are motoring towards a playoff run here in 2023 as their magic number keeps getting smaller and smaller. I'm Paul Valley, and you can find me along with Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here on the Bat-Around. We'll navigate you through the playoff push as the Orioles look to put an exclamation point on what is turning out to be the best season of the last 40 years. So join us on the Orioles train, and let's enjoy the ride together right here on the Bat-Around.
Visit Harford County this fall. Celebrate arts across Harford September 15th through the 30th with dance, theater, music, and visual arts. September 29th through October 1st is the largest Italian festival in Maryland, featuring entertainment, cooking demonstrations, a bocce tournament, and family fun. If you're headed to the Maryland 5-Star, stay and play in Harford County. While you're there, enjoy the scenic views atop the King and Queen seats and experience pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and fall brews along their Harford Libation Trail. For more info, head to visitharford.com. Maryland open.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is Lamar ready to take the Ravens to the next level, now with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry and Pete Shinnick bring to Navy and Towson, respectively. And we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR.
And GCR today hosted by Stan the Fan as Glenn Clark finishes up his Stevenson business.
Keep making it sound so like so secretive. Yeah,
I think it's going to be being named.
He's
Dean
doing
Clark.
USA volleyball for Stevenson. The USA volleyball tournament is being hosted out there.
Disappointment.
Well, that's disappointing.
Oh man, I thought for sure it was something big. No,
maybe
it is big.
Okay.
No, USA volleyball. USA volleyball is very big. We are brought to you in part every day by the Toyota Tacoma. It comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. I'm told that normally you do the tidbit of the day, but in honor of your brother being here,
Lucas demanded
from
that
Fort Liberty, he demanded special opja.
Yes, he did.
So
That's right.
I pass you on to Lucas Bass for today's tidbit of the day.
All right, so it's going to be college football related. In celebration of Week 3, kind of the final non-conference play of the college football season, Maryland obviously hosts Virginia tonight, and I always think that there's kind of a rivalry there, even though they're not in the same conference. And it's probably stemming from the ACC days, but also neighboring states, very similar states. It's always an exciting time anytime they play. They actually haven't played each other since 2013. And this is the tidbit. I was just curious if you guys would know who holds the all-time record when they play each other in football, UMD or Virginia.
I would think Maryland it leads the all-time series against Virginia.
I would think the opposite.
You
I
would
think Virginia.
I feel like Maryland's
leads the all-time. Now
Virginia really hasn't. I don't know. I guess Maryland hasn't been that great either. I mean, they had an ACC.
You don't remember how bad Maryland football was
I don't.
After Bobby Ross left, and actually,
but they were good before.
Actually, before Bobby Ross, they had Jerry Claiborne. They were like sort of. They would be 6-4 and go to a meaningless bowl. I'm going to say, are you asking for the record?
No, I'm not looking. This isn't even the tidbit part. But I was just.
This isn't even the tidbit part.
Yeah, this is the pre-tidbit.
I'm putting all this energy into defending.
Well, that's the point. That's the point. That's a good tidbit then. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about like the Bear Bryant days.
So Maryland leads the series 44-32 and 2. They've played. This will be their 79th meeting this evening.
Wow. I would have guessed that Virginia was a better football program.
Maryland, up until about 81,
right,
was dominating. They probably won like 20 more. And then Virginia went on a run in the 90s where they just won every single game.
Right.
And they play each other every year. And then Maryland kind of started shaping up, and obviously they haven't played in about 10 years. But the big
That's right. This is not. They're playing tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the game at?
Home.
At College Park.
We'll be going.
It's at College Park, and it's not an ACC matchup.
Correct.
It's an ACC versus Big Ten matchup. What's the lifetime record is 40? Maryland 44 to 22. 32. I'll bet that over the last 40 of those games,
Virginia's
it's probably like.
More closer to 500.
No, Virginia's
dominating.
Better
so 28-12, Virginia.
Something like that.
That would be.
I'm going to say that. Like the last 30 games.
I read it. It had the record up here.
Oh, you didn't have the years. Okay.
Well, we can say stands probably right.
Yeah, so Virginia's 15-7 since 1991.
Okay.
15-7 since 1991.
But obviously Maryland's 2-0. Virginia's 0-2 coming in, so we'll see what happens.
Maryland should take care. What is Maryland favored by tonight?
14.5 is what Glenn and I got it at for our pick segment yesterday.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know which way I'd go in that game.
I'm with Gary Stein. I think Maryland puts it all together. I think they put the pick, even though it's probably the best opponent that they're facing in terms of talent and level, but I think they put together their best game tonight.
Right.
I think they have the best crowd as well this season tonight. So
are you able to bet same game parlays on games like that?
This game on Superbook, I'm not sure. I know for the bigger games, they typically do have some same game parlays ready for those higher level. Definitely NFL as well.
All right, now that was the build up to the tidbit of the day.
I'm glad.
Good preface.
We're getting in now. So I was just wondering if you guys knew the 10 most biggest commercially and longest running non-conference rivalries throughout college football.
Okay, so
and there's a couple in here that are.
How do you measure this?
So longest running. So I kind of like went through a couple websites and tried to figure out. It's gonna be the longest running. Like these teams have been playing each other since the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
So
most matchups,
like since like the 18, like whenever it
1890
started.
or something like
1890s,
that.
1880s.
So basically most games played
so
between
something like
two
William and Mary.
That wouldn't be on there. It's more like commercially as successful as well.
Okay, like Auburn. Or something like
since they're playing, since they're playing this week, Colorado and Colorado State.
They're not. They're actually number 12.
Oh,
I thought about mentioning that on there too.
This is a rivalry.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something like.
I think like
Ohio State,
yeah.
Michigan.
Well, no,
so
we're non-conference.
non-conference.
So I'll go
Week three,
Cyhawk.
it's the last.
The Cyhawk game.
I missed that
Cyclones and the
Yep,
Hawkeyes.
that's
Iowa.
on there.
Okay.
Iowa State. What rank is that?
Towson Morgan.
That's number 6. Towson Morgan.
That's
number 11.
Is it
Towson
really?
Morgan.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's not.
Where's
that's this weekend
where's,
too, I think.
Yeah,
This
it is,
guy,
actually.
this guy has a good sense of humor. You ought to learn from him.
Yeah, well, I'll try. I tried. What rank is Iowa
That's
State?
number 6. Do you know who's got that all time?
It's the Hawkeyes, Iowa.
Yep. Yeah, 39-20. Of
course.
39-20.
Really?
How
about Auburn? Well, Auburn and Alabama then are in the same
SEC,
conference.
Yeah, they wouldn't work. There's
Uh,
not a lot of
Texas.
SEC
How about
on this
Florida,
list.
Florida State?
Florida State.
Good one.
Who's got that one overall?
Gators.
Florida State, I'm going to say.
Gators. 33-20 and 2.
Wow.
Florida.
Okay.
What rank was that one?
4.
I don't know why. I guess just because they played over the week. Texas, Alabama, that's not a thing, is it?
No.
No.
Okay.
How about
That will be in a little
and
bit, right?
Texas, Oklahoma are in the same division.
Yeah, they're Big 12. So I guess in
How
a
about
couple
Texas,
years.
Texas Tech or something like that?
No, nothing like that. Think like
let's go.
Same state.
Right,
different.
right. I'm trying to think.
And
of,
historical. Like number 1 is
Illinois State.
No.
Sycamores in the
Ball State and
NYU Cornell.
No.
Oh, man, why am I?
really
I know I'm having a rough time. Give me. I
did
guess
good with the Florida State.
Yeah, that was good. Start off.
How about
strong.
Oregon State?
That same
Same
conference.
Pac-12.
Yeah.
Pac-12. How
That's-
about Washington
Maryland,
State?
West Virginia.
No, not Maryland, West
Darn.
Virginia. West Virginia is on here though.
West Virginia Pitt.
Yes.
West
Yeah,
Virginia
that's
Pitt.
a good one. Yeah,
The
West
backyard brawl they call
Yeah,
it.
the backyard brawl.
Oh, and what's the?
I thought it'd be like Pitt, Penn State, but that wasn't.
What's the one with?
Yeah.
Is that the Colorado again? The
That
which?
Paul Bunyan's axe. That's Minnesota.
Minnesota.
that's
and,
in that's
Wisconsin.
No.
No.
Yeah,
Is
but
it
they're
So
Big
that's in
Ten.
Big Ten.
Yeah.
Paul Bunyan's axe. This is so Lucas and I went to the College Football Hall of Fame down in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. So I feel really bad that
How about
I should know this.
Arizona State?
Same
Pac-12.
conference, yeah.
Same conference.
So, one of the teams that night was playing is on here.
That who was playing?
The teams that night.
Oh,
at Mercedes-Benz.
okay. Georgia Tech.
Yep, Georgia Tech.
Very good.
What rank is that's got to be low on there.
That's
I feel like.
5.
And how many are there?
10 total. You guys have 4. You
Okay.
have
Well, how
3
many of the
through
top
6.
5? Oh, we have
3 through 6. So you're missing the top 2. Although number 2,
Missing
I
the
don't
top
really know
2.
how it's number 2. I don't think it's that big. Of
Okay,
a,
let's try to get the top 2 here, and then give
the
us
top
some
number
strong
1
hints.
is pretty
How about-
historically.
I know.
How about
That's why I'm like.
Mississippi and
No, there's not a lot. I don't think there's any more SEC. There's one SEC school left on here, and they play the ACC.
Clemson.
Yep.
Clemson versus
Tennessee.
No. You don't know what state Clemson's in?
No, I do.
Clemson's in
Oh,
South
South Carolina.
Carolina.
South
Yeah,
Carolina.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Clemson, South Carolina. Really?
Mhm.
Okay. North Carolina, South Carolina.
No.
Yeah.
That's a good one though.
Clemson SC.
All right. So
I'm
we
trying to
got
think.
the
Is
top-
is
do we have the
is
top
is
5?
you?
No.
We need one more.
Yeah, this can't go
It's-
on for
that was
like
7.
much
I
longer.
do.
Clemson,
This is
South
a good one
Carolina,
though.
7.
Is USC on the list? Trojans.
USC is on the list.
Who would their rival?
They're
be?
number 1. And it's
USC. Why can't I not think of this?
This team that their rival, I won't say
is
that.
not in state. It's
They're
Notre
not in
Dame,
state.
Notre Dame, USC.
Notre Dame USC is number 1. Who's
There
got
we
that
go.
all the time?
Notre Dame.
I would guess USC.
Notre Dame.
Is Notre Dame on the
43, 34, and 5.
How much? 34.
Notre Dame is winning USC 43, 34, and 5.
Okay, it's
All right,
close.
so we got
though.
6. Is Notre Dame on this list?
Yeah, they
again.
have another one. Which they're the other one that they're on here. I don't even remember them playing ever.
How about
And
Army Navy?
Army Navy's on there. Yep.
Of course.
Can't forget that
I know,
one.
how do we not get that one? Army Air Force.
No.
Navy
is
Air
good,
Force.
though. No more armed forces.
No more military academies.
3 more.
I don't know
on
how
there.
we forgot Army Navy. That's unbelievable. That's
They're-
bad.
these
That's
three are
bad.
kind
We
of like-
took long to get that one.
One of them is in state. 2 are bordering states, and this other one involves
North Dakota State, South Dakota State.
No.
There might be the same conference.
These are kind of Midwest. I don't say they're in the Great Plains states.
Nebraska.
No, not Nebraska. South of Nebraska.
So
South of Nebraska.
Kansas,
South Dakota. Kansas State.
No. Kansas and
Missouri?
a border state.
Kansas, Missouri.
Yeah, Kansas, Missouri.
Really? Okay.
Which that's number 2, which I never really.
Really?
I don't remember that being such
okay.
a.
I guess
big
they.
one.
I mean, it's because they don't have anything else to do
This is-
out
that
there.
that one's probably the closest spread. Missouri's winning that one, 56, 54, and 9.
Okay.
That's the closest spread. And you've got
What do
the
we got, 2
bottom
more?
2, 9 and 10.
You're
Why
gonna
don't
give us
you
some
tell-
strong
why
hints.
don't
Yeah, give
you-
us some strong
9
hints
and
here.
10. So for number 9, you already guessed this team. They were involved in the number 1. They're an independent.
Oh, okay. So Notre Dame and
Another Big Ten team.
Ohio State,
No.
Notre Dame, and Penn State.
No, not
Indiana.
Penn State. No, not Indiana. This
Illinois.
Is like, no, like
Michigan.
They're not a
Michigan
good,
State.
Michigan State. There you go.
Michigan
By
State.
process of elimination. I know they're not even a good
really Michigan
football
State and Notre
program.
Dame.
And tell us the last one.
So it's the holiest war, they call it. BYU and Utah.
The holiest war. BYU and Utah.
And Utah's got that
Can't
one.
believe I forgot that one.
Yeah, it's a
How
big
about
one.
Utah State or something like that?
No, they were not. Well, Utah State, they're just not that.
Yeah,
Utah
Utah
State's
State's
not that good. I mean, BYU, I guess, is okay enough where they'll.
All right.
Say it on.
That was a good one. I like that
Bleacher
one.
Report
That was a good one. It was a little longer than
Athlon.
needed to be because it makes you
If Glenn
look
was here, would have.
idiotic when you sit here. and
Nah, I don't think so. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough one. That was a good, well
Was it a good
thought
one?
out though.
Good. I figured
it's like a special ops question.
Celebrate the Maryland-Virginia rivalry.
All right.
Battle of the DMV.
Celebrate that. That starts tonight at 7:30.
7:30.
7.
7.
It is 7. You're right.
7 o'clock. Is that available in the Big Ten?
It is on FS1 as we transition here into Totally Tubular.
All right.
So I can go over the sports schedule for you.
FS1's got
I
a
don't
big
have to
night.
answer
DMV
anything on
last night.
Totally Tubular.
No, you don't. No, yeah, you can. Yeah, I guess you can walk out, Stan. If you want.
I'm done.
Apple TV Plus has the Rays and the Orioles at 7. Zach Eflin and Jack Flaherty, as we've been talking. Also on Apple TV Plus is going to be Phillies Cardinals. So Virginia, Maryland, FS1 at 7. Army, UTSA on ESPN at 7. Utah State and Air Force on CBS Sports Network. Top Ranked Boxing as well back on ESPN. Following that Army UTSA game, Luis Lopez and Joet Gonzalez in a good boxing showdown there. The rest of the MLB slate, go to glennclarkradio.com for the Totally Tubular WNBA playoffs kick off tonight. Washington Mystics, New York Liberty game 1 on ESPN2. Atlanta Dream and the Dallas Wings game 1 at 9:30. Following that on ESPN2. The Fortnite Championship. It's not Fortnite, but it's the Fortnite Championship in the PGA. I don't know. Fortinet is what it is. But Glenn and I were talking. Fortnite should sponsor it. Yeah, I think that would help golf.
And they can get some skins, get some famous golfers in the game.
That'd be. So, I want to be Ricky Fowler.
Yeah.
USA has the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs in Bristol at 7:30 on Saturday. Rays and Orioles, Tyler Glasnow and Grayson scheduled to go at each other. That's at 7 on Masson. ESPN Plus, you can see Towson Morgan State on ESPN Plus at Morgan. Also on ESPN Plus, Yankees Pirates and UFC Fight Night. It's Noche UFC. Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko 2 as the women's flyweight belt.
Why do they call it UFC Noche?
They're trying to make it. There's a lot of Mexican fighters on the card, and I don't know why. Yeah, it's in Vegas. I don't know. They kind of dropped the ball here that they should have had it in Mexico or Mexico City or something.
It's the altitude. It's ridiculous.
They've had stuff in Mexico in the past, though. It's been a while since they went back. They should have. They kind of dropped the ball there. GoMaxSports.tv for Stevenson FDU at noon. Salisbury and Hopkins are in action as well. Concordia Prep goes up against St. Paul's. You can find that on YouTube with myself on the call alongside Miles Goodman. Penn State, Illinois on Fox, Big Ten Network, Georgia Southern and Wisconsin, and a whole slate of games on BTN tomorrow. NBC has Syracuse and Purdue, Brentford and Newcastle is the soccer match at 12:30. All the college football go to Glenn Clark Radio. Colorado State at 10 on ESPN is the big game tomorrow. Just looking over here again, all the college football is on Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn did a great job gathering everything. On Sunday, Ravens Bengals on CBS, followed by Commanders Broncos. Fox is gonna have Giants Cardinals at 4:00.
It's exciting.
Is it?
No.
Can we get Stan going on that one? Rays Orioles at 1:30 on Masson. Zach Littell and Dean Kramer. As the Orioles look to hopefully, I guess, take 3 out of 4 against if they win tonight and tomorrow. NBC has Dolphins.
I'd love a split.
Yeah,
I'd love a split.
Dolphins Patriots is a Sunday night football game on NBC, and WNBA playoffs continue on ESPN and ABC. For the rest, the Fortnite Championship round 4 wraps up as well on Sunday. For the rest, go to glennclarkradio.com. Some non-sports highlights for you. Inside the World's Toughest Prisons premieres on Netflix. Season 7, actually, as a journalist and former inmate Raphael Rowe goes around to the toughest prisons in the world. Actually looks kind of cool. Czech Republic, Indonesia, the Solomon Islands. Yeah.
Guantanamo Bay?
Not on this season. Maybe in the past, though.
Maybe. It's the season 8 thing.
This one, I want Love at First Sight movie on Netflix. There's not a whole lot going on. Love at First Sight. This is a classic meet cute in an airport. And
who's in it?
No one that we know.
Damn.
but it just looks great. She's going to London, and she runs into the love of her life. They sit next to each other on the plane, and
Is
then
it Christmas time
and
or something? It sounds like
no,
some
she's
type of
actually
drama here.
there for a wedding.
Oh, there you
yeah.
go.
And then they never the guy gives her his number, and she drops her phone and breaks her phone.
Oh my!
Yeah, so she's
What
running all over London to try and find
What
him.
a creative way to get around the phone epidemic
Right.
of the global.
A million miles away, Michael Pena is Jose Hernandez, who grew up in Mexico, and he wants to become an astronaut. This is on Prime Video, A Million Miles Away with Michael Pena.
It's a movie?
Yeah, it is a movie. It is a movie.
Sounds good.
And Fast X comes to streaming. It's on Peacock.
Skip the theaters, or was it on
It
theaters?
was out in theaters.
Oh,
It's
jeez.
quickly out on Peacock, though.
Hmm.
The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, and the finale on HBO of Winning Time, the Rise of the Lakers Dynasty, at 9 o'clock on HBO on Sunday
Have you been
nights.
able to do you like that show at all?
I haven't. I started it, and I just haven't had time to come back to it. It looks good. Glenn likes it a lot. He is a big fan of it. He's disappointed that they will not be renewed for another. Well, actually, I don't think it's not that they're renewed. It's the writer just isn't going to do another season.
Writer's strike.
Well, that too, I
mean,
guess.
the writer's strike is what took it off?
No. I think he just didn't think that there was much more, I guess, else to go.
Yeah.
Even though, I guess they
I
could
don't see
go
much
forever.
more else to go with that thing. And the acting, to me, is just not really.
John C. Reilly.
He doesn't do good. Does he do good?
John C. Reilly. John C.
watch
Riley's
it.
great. That is it though for your
Who's
totally
playing-
tubular.
Who plays Pat Riley in that?
Good question. Lucas, fill the air for me while I search this up.
I found
So
it.
earlier today we were wondering why the 49er or why Charlotte, University of Charlotte, is called the 49ers.
Yeah.
And it is strange. It sounds like they were back in the 1940s. They were called the Charlotte Center of the University of North Carolina, and they were about to be shut down.
They were called the Center of the
Charlotte Center of the University of North Carolina, or the CCUNC.
CCUNC, of course.
And they were about to be shut down by the state. And then in 1949, Bonnie Ethel Cohn
Bonnie
came up with some money.
Yeah, and
kept them afloat.
Kept them the
So they're
49ers
49ers.
spirit.
All right.
And funnily enough,
Funny that you
the
can't use that
highway.
word.
I know. I don't know. What
Yeah,
the word
ironic
is.
I'm
works.
surprised
Ironic
the
works.
San Francisco 49ers haven't sued them for
Right.
trademark.
Oh, it's
infringement.
Highway 49 is the highway that goes right into the front
Through-
entrance of the main campus.
okay.
Pure coincidence.
Pure coincidence.
So
Okay.
maybe the whole thing was timed. You know, they
Maybe.
waited from 47
to
48.
49. All these
Hey,
people were without
if
their
we
jobs.
wait till 49, you got the highway
Yeah.
runs right through it, and it's 1940.
It's
It'll
just
be
perfect.
1949.
It's Adrian Brody who plays Pat Riley. Yeah.
Oh,
What do you don't like? Oh, you don't like Pat Riley in the
no, I don't
series?
like
Or you don't-
Adrian Brody.
What don't you like
playing
about
Pat.
Adrian Brody?
It's a
Pianist.
terrible bit of casting.
What?
He was over. Oh God, he was so over the top.
Well, he's a. Did he win an Oscar for The Pianist?
The
Władysław.
what?
That's how it's pronounced.
The Pianist?
Like pianist, but
Anyway.
The pianist.
he's Polish.
Yes. Yeah, he's a
Holocaust
Polish.
survivor.
Polish Jewish descent. Yeah.
All right, well, that does it for this portion of the Glenn Clark Radio Show. We are going to finish up, though.
Yes,
on
we
a
want to
high
thank all
note.
our guests,
On
of
a high
course.
note. We
Yes,
would like to
as
thank
well.
all our guests. Todd Karpovich of PressBoxOnline.com and PressBox. We'd like to thank Gary Stein of PressBoxOnline.com and Studio 83 fame.
Voice of the UMBC Retrievers as well.
That's right. He is the voice of the UMBC Retrievers and occasionally the Stevenson Mustangs.
And he is,
or
that is true. I
Concordia.
believe he's on the call this weekend,
Yeah.
actually, for
Of-
Stevenson football.
Of Stevenson.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Jack of all trades.
And in addition, we have to thank Ryan Spilborghs.
Ryan Spilborghs,
of
yes.
Loud Outs on Sirius XM.
Exactly.
And he'll be on the call tonight doing the color analyst work on the Orioles and the Rays, which starts at 7:05
Ish.
only on Apple TV. That does it for me. Glenn Clark will be back Monday.
Yeah, myself and Glenn will react to the Ravens. Whatever happens between them and the Bengals should be, hopefully good news. Jeremy Conn will join us, and a guest. I'm not sure if I'm supposed
That's right.
to say.
You guys are on after the game Sunday.
Well, Glenn and Rita are.
Glenn and Rita
are. Glenn and I will be back Monday morning with normal edition of GCR. We'll wrap the show by listening to the third and final segment of Tuesday's Tyus Bowser Show, featuring a special guest, Rashod Bateman.
Ooh. Back in here for segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show. Press Box and 105.7 The Fan, live from the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill on Hartford Road. Glenn and Rita alongside Tyus and Rashod Bateman. How about them Honey Old Bay wings, by the way? How about
Fire.
Yeah, right. Rashod, had you never had Honey Old Bay wings before?
I ain't had none. I want some more.
Oh, bro.
But I think you like them.
Love them.
Okay. We wouldn't steer you wrong, I promise you.
So get to the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill. Best place to be to watch the games. Get the Honey Old Bay wings. Rita swears by the salmon. Get over here to the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill and check out all the amazing, delicious food. Don't forget, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER or helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. So, Tyus, I don't know if you saw, but Rita was stressed during that last break because we got the Orioles game on, and she is living and dying on every pitch of this game. She's losing her mind. Now, imagine watching football games with her.
I can't even imagine, man.
I've calmed down over the years.
Have you, though?
I think so.
Have you?
You
in
don't
moments.
think so?
How were you back then?
Huh?
How were you back then?
Oh.
She hit me with that. Oh, God.
Oh,
that had to be
yeah.
bad.
Sound like it was rough.
Yeah, you know. For those of us that have been here during the 2000s, that was a rough time.
There were some years in there.
So I definitely have used a lot of F-bombs, a lot of S-bombs. I've used a lot of bad words. Now, every now and again, I curse.
Now she only uses half of those. Now she only uses F-bombs or S-bombs. Which is not
correct.
She
not
doesn't
both.
do both.
I don't do both.
We call that progress. Growth.
It's growth.
Growth is
Yes.
From the 2000s?
The 2000s were rough.
It's 2020s.
I know. So I'm saying that I've
Think
evolved.
about how old Rashod was in the 2000s. Why don't you do that math right now?
How old were you, bro? What? Give me a specific date.
2005.
I was 4.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. So we know both of you have been in on the Orioles, right? Like, Tyus, you have fully embraced the Orioles. Rashod, we know you've thrown first pitches at Orioles games.
Yes.
Have you gotten all in? Have you been, riding the train? And
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely riding the Oriole train. You know, I'm not no Georgia fan at all. I promise. No team in Georgia.
You weren't a Braves fan at all.
Say that again.
You weren't a Braves fan when you were growing up?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think the most important thing he just said is no team in Georgia he roots for.
Yeah.
So as a person that roots for a team in Florida, that is very important.
But that doesn't mean he roots for Florida. He roots for Minnesota, Rita.
I understand that, but we are both anti-Georgia. I appreciate
you can embrace that.
For sure, anti-Georgia. But I was a Florida guy.
Well, look at that. Look at that. Now she's going to like you even more now. Now you're going to be her. Now she's going to get herself a jersey.
I was a Gator. I wanted to be a Gator.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
How'd they screw that up? Because they've kind of been doo-doo, and they probably could have been much better if they would have had you.
Absolutely.
These
for
are
sure.
facts.
We definitely could have used you.
I was already committed to Minnesota at the time, and Florida was going through a coaching change.
Yeah.
They've been through a few.
Yeah, I kind of got caught up in the middle of that. So, yeah, who do you root for?
Maryland.
Exactly.
Pitiful.
Go Terps, by the way. Well.
I mean, that's rich coming from a Minnesota man.
I think I beat the Terps when I was in college.
Did you? You might have. I don't know.
I got my first touchdown here in Baltimore.
Really?
I'm in College
Park. Yeah, I was like, I didn't think you guys
Huh?
played. Yeah, right. Trippy's trying to say it's nothing to brag about.
It led me here, so I'm thankful.
There you go.
I'm
there
thankful.
you go.
We
We know Tyus roots for Houston Cougars.
To Houston Cougars.
You know, that's your squad.
But what I wanted to present, Tyus,
I was just getting ready to say,
there's a possibility that we get to the playoffs and the ALCS.
Mm-hmm.
And that could very well be an Orioles-Astros matchup.
What's going to happen? We need to know. What's your loyalties like?
I plead the fifth.
No!
Okay.
No!
I plead the fifth.
Man,
you know what's crazy? Because
the fifth?
they play here in Baltimore. And I was going to do, I think they played 3 games.
They did.
Went to one game in my Astros stuff, but I went to the other game in my Orioles stuff. So, I mean, I support both teams, you know.
Okay.
But, you know, that's just tough, man.
I just feel like this is. Wait,
tough.
Glenn. This is how I feel about this because the Astros have championships.
Right.
It's been 40 years here.
I
don't
would
even
love
want
to
to
see
tell
the
you
Orioles
how
get a
old I was
championship.
then.
Absolutely.
So we can't get you to fully commit to rooting for the Orioles if they square off in the
man,
ALCS.
with
Come
the
on, just give us
Astros,
one.
man.
Just one.
The Astros spot?
Yeah, they like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when that time comes, because it will,
All right,
because
what
I
would you
believe that the Orioles is going to make it that far. I believe that the Astros are going to make it that far as well.
I can see it.
And I think I'll just be there for the ride, man, just to see it. I just want to see some great baseball games, a ton of home runs. Hopefully I get a few foul balls come my way.
Rita is losing years of her life watching a baseball
is.
game, and you
She
can't
is.
just
And
give
you know
her
what?
literally
that.
just
You
seen
know
it.
I have more years behind me than in front of me. Come on.
I was literally eating. I'm just looking at her. She's just
Stressed
out. I
Losing
called her
her
name
mind.
twice. She was like, yeah, I don't hear you at all.
Oh, she was in her own world. Own world at that point. All right, so I referenced it before the break. Last time we did a show with everybody was the week before the playoff game. And there had been a little bit of an incident at the end of the regular season. And Rita was ready to fly out there. She was ready to be your personal bodyguard. She was going to fight that dude, Jackson Carmen, in the street. Like, in the street, he was going to see those hands. We didn't really follow up afterwards. Was there any further incident in the playoff game?
No, I mean, I went and got a sack against him.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that was kind of like my get back.
Kept
but-
score?
Yeah, kept score.
Kept
but,
score.
I mean, if he wants to try to, you know, put on film of him trying to be all hard and stuff, you know, I was actually laughing while he was doing that. I was like, yo, come on, dog. And then he just kept going. I was like, okay, like, this is doing too much.
I ain't like that at all.
But, yeah.
Hey, so what happened? I think I missed this.
You said what?
I said, what happened? I think I missed this.
I mean, he pushed me to the sideline, and from there, you know, it was a little scuffle, but, you know.
Just football stuff.
Just football, just football stuff.
A couple of gentlemen
Something
handling
that
their
you would
business.
do with the DBs, you know what I'm saying? You try to, you know, block them all the way to the sideline and chunk them out, you know, into the bleachers.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's just football. Move past it, you know, keep playing. I got my get back, so it's all good.
There we go. There we go.
All right.
Now we need the team to get a get back.
So it's just worse because it just happened to be the Bengals.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty
much.
So speaking of the Bengals, obviously they're your next opponent. You know them very well. They struggled in their first game. Listen, they didn't play well, but this is what they've done. Last year, I believe they started 0-3.
They lost the Steelers in week 1. Yeah.
Obviously, not nearly as bad as they lost to the Browns, but now, but do you, when you look at them, even though they are extremely talented, but they've struggled, and I believe they cut Lyle Collins today, who, even though he was on PUP, they signed him in the offseason. I guess that they thought they had plans for him. So they're reeling. It feels that way, right? You hear them talk in their press conference. They're reeling. Do you feel like you're licking your chops when you going into Cincinnati? Does it feel like, oh, okay, we owe them one? Because back-to-back, we remember what happened last year. You know, back-to-back losses. Does it feel like we got to get one out of here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we feel like we owe them one. And, I mean, that's just part of the rivalry that we have. You know, anytime you see that schedule and you have Cincinnati Bengals that week, or anyone in the AFC, you know, it's just going to be that. And it just so happens to be the Bengals, and, you know, we ended up losing that playoff game, and, you know, that was tough to end the season like that. So to have them this second week, we're looking forward to it. And the guys are ready. These guys are ready to work this week to prepare and get ready for Sunday, and, you know, we're definitely looking forward to it.
Glenn, I want to ask Rashod, because I believe this offseason has been different for the Bengals, right? I know that they still have a good, stout front seven, but they lost, in my opinion, two very important players in their secondary, particularly in their safeties. When you see that...
She wants to know if you can go cook them. Go cook them, right? That's what you're going to do on Sunday, right?
When you see the changes, and to me, they downgraded. This is my opinion. I'm not asking you to say that, but when I look at them losing two important guys that was helping their secondary. When you look at the changes that they've made, do you feel like, oh, okay, I got something for that?
Yeah, a little bit for sure. Well, just overall, I think we owe the Bengals, you know. Yeah, I just think we definitely owe them.
I mean, they're the team that won the division the last couple of years,
It
right?
ain't even
Like-
about that. We just owe
Okay.
them one. Yeah, we just owe them. Baltimore, we just owe them one. You know, we go get it back. But you know, they did have some secondary losses that was very important. It's definitely not the same. So as a receiver, you know, you start to see a change. You start to study their games, see where you can squeeze in, you know, some big plays, and you know where you can get your wins in. So I'm definitely studying them hard to look where I can get my opportunity.
I like that. We are winding down for the Tyus Bowser Show with Rashod Bateman, Press Box 105.7, The Fan. Rashod, you obviously, you were at the podium a couple weeks ago when you came back, and one of my favorite things you said, you're like, this is the way it works around here. Everybody says their piece. We're best friends now. That's the way that it goes. Mm-hmm. Is there something about this organization, this building, this group of guys that, like, you can do that? You can say, hey, we can talk, we can have our differences, and we're going to be able to move forward, and everything's going to be cool after that.
Yeah, Baltimore is a really comfortable place for me personally. I think the city of Baltimore in generally helps us that way. You know, it's a blue collar, you know, city, and you know, I'm from a town from not much, so being able to continue to stay humble while being in this profession helps me out a lot. You know, and being in Baltimore does that. You know, and I feel like we got a team full of humble players, you know, and that's kind of contagious. It's crazy because nobody really look at themselves as, you know, professional athletes. We all look at each other as brothers, you know, first and foremost. And, you know, I think that carries over into the game and how we play and our team chemistry. So it's definitely been fun here, you know. So I guess it's just time to win the Super Bowl now.
I like that.
It's time.
I like that, right? Like, we can echo that into eternity. Is there any chance that, like, we'll see you and Eric go out for, like, paintball or do other best friend stuff in the future? Like, is there any chance, like, you have, like, a best friend activity planned, anything like that?
Nah. Nah.
All right, what was your, growing up, your favorite, like, best friend activity? I want to go across the table. Favorite best friend thing to do? Mine was batting cages. Like, me and my best friend would go to the batting cages, and all of a sudden we realized we spent $100. We could have just been in the backyard, like, feeding each other. It would have been way cheaper than spending an hour at the batting cages the way that we would do. What was the best friend activity, Tyus, that you like doing the most?
Me?
Yeah.
I would definitely say just going to the gym. I even do it now just with a group of my guys back in Tyler who always do, like, a three-point contest.
And you probably always win.
And we do.
Yeah.
And we do. And, you know, they always come at us because a few of those guys, you know, they played, you know, Division I at Iowa and other places. So whenever we get the chance to go back home, that's one of the things we always, you know, bring up is like, hey, when the gym going to be open? Like,
You gotta go. You gotta go back, right?
Exactly.
I get it.
So
I
that's
like
one of the
that.
good things that I enjoy doing.
Rashod, what about you? What was the best friend activity?
I mean, honestly, I didn't know what I was going to say until he said gym, but, I mean, I definitely would have to say gym as well because growing up, that's all we did. I played basketball kind of more than I played football growing up.
Wait a second.
He a hoop.
Okay, I was going to say, we always have to run it by
you put
Tyus.
them on your starting five.
I could put him on my starting five.
Yeah, me and Tyus can hoop.
Okay.
Yeah, me and Tyus can hoop.
All right.
Yeah.
Because there's some guys that think they can hoop, and then, like, Tyus has to give them the all, like, yeah,
It's
maybe.
a lot of them in there. It's a lot of them in there. You know? But
you can vouch for
I can vouch for this guy, yeah.
bet.
So that was your thing. You guys would go just hoop for, like, hours.
Yeah, like hours at a time, like sun up to sundown. We just play basketball.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Rita, what about you? What was your go-to? The gym, right, mostly?
Yeah, sure. In this city, on the weekends, what we did around here, we went skating. We went to Orchards, Skate Land. We went to Shake and Bake. That's what we did. So me and my best friends was out every Friday. My mama had to either drop me off or pick me up. I don't know. She might not have did either that day because she got a life of her own. But that's what we was doing. We was going
I just
skating.
realized that I know where we are because you never invited me skating. So I learned that, boy, I thought we were better than that, Rita, but you said best friends, and I've never gotten that invite to go
You
out.
said childhood best friends.
Oh, okay. I guess that's true, too. All right.
Now we ask you that question, like, what about
it was
you?
batting cages. I'm telling you, batting for hours. Or ping pong. Dude, we would go into, like, one of our buddies' basements, and we would play. We wouldn't keep score. Like, it would just be like an eternal 5 hour long. Like,
who got a ping pong table?
Who doesn't have a ping pong table? Ping
What
pong
do you mean
table.
who doesn't have a ping pong
It's,
table?
you're acting like that's bougie. She's
Were
trying
you
to
going
make it
to
seem
the
like it's bougie.
YMCA or is that at somebody's house?
I ain't got no ping pong.
So you should get a
Exactly.
ping pong table. Ping pong tables are great.
We're not saying it's not great. I'm asking who had a ping pong table
We
at their
always had a
house.
buddy who had a ping pong table in the basement.
Tyus, you had a ping pong table?
I do have a ping pong
Did
table.
you
in my
have one
house.
growing up?
No, I couldn't
Thank
afford
you.
that.
Exactly.
I don't know what's
That is
happening
And
right
there's
there.
that.
But
There's a difference.
I feel like this is aggressive. I feel like this is a bit much, and I feel like it might be an appropriate time to end the show. Thank you. Would y'all please make some noise one more time for Tyus Bowser, Rashod Bateman. Hey, don't forget Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. The code is GlennClark23. You get a first bet match up to $250. Superbook.com or the Superbook app. Rashod, you don't want to tell us about the clothing line just yet, but like, is there anything we can plug for you? Everybody, where everybody can follow you, anything like that?
Nah, not yet.
Bro, I appreciate you.
You'll see it. It'll be an announcement.
I look forward to it. Thank you for coming out and hanging out with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Really appreciate it. Tyus, it's so good to be back with you for another season, man.
Most definitely, man. I appreciate it.
Look forward. 2 weeks from now, John, remind me, we're at Guilford Hall, correct, in 2 weeks? Yes. Guilford Hall Brewery is where we will be 2 weeks from now for the next Tyus Bowser Show. Thanks to Grade 8's memorabilia. Thanks to the Hamilton Sports Bar.